So yeah, okay. I guess we're live, baby. We're live. Oh man, I don't know if you lot can hear me or anything like that, but yeah. If you lot have the capacity to join, please join us. All right, please join us. Whew, we had what? Wow. Okay, we had quite a few people tuned in. Over 1,000 playbacks. Excellent. 3 new subscribers. All right. Brother Muzone. Okay. Gabs, Medicine Man. Yeah, I've got you, brother. Ricky, I seen you joining. Lorenzo. You know, Jay Nish. Was good, my brother. 3 new subscribers. Yeah. So yeah, I'm literally leaving it open for you guys, yeah, to just have your say. So I'm not even trying to be on here for too long. So if there's anything that you want to say, let our audience know. We've got loads of people tuning in right now. So come in. I'm not even trying to be on here for too long. Got Speakers Corner UK in the building. Perfect. We've got K Murphy in the building. We've got Ricky in the building. Lorenzo, Jacob, another Jacob. Dame is in the building. Yeah, please let everybody come in, have their say, and let's get it in. K Murphy in the building. So anybody want to speak? Speak up.
Yo, Ali Dar was a sideman. Fuck that guy.
Alright, I'm just gonna warn everybody, okay, please. We don't on Talk of the Titans, we literally have 3 rules, yeah. Number 1 rule is to respect everybody's cipher. Allow them to have their say. Rule number 2 is to keep your mics muted at all times until it's your turn to speak. And rule number 3 is please no profanity. What I love about this is usually we have children tuning into this. I have my children tuning into this show. I have, I literally play this to my aunties, to my moms, all sorts. You know, we even get this in the barbershops. We literally play back my shows. So please keep the profanity to the bare minimum so everybody can have an opportunity to play this back with their family. But yeah, let's open it up, man. Let's open it up. Anybody else, man? Come on, let's get it in.
Why do we bother talking to the Wahhabis? Why do we even care? Actually, why do people spend so much time giving them airtime, even discussing what they're going on about with?
Because they're the loudest. They make the most noise. They're the most, the most visible of the Islamic community, really.
Even discussing what they're going on about with.
Because they're the loudest. They make the most noise.
All right, remember, guys, to keep your mics muted if you're not speaking. Okay. Let me just make sure. All right, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Kalam? I saw part of your show, buddy, especially with hijab and stuff. And to answer the one of the other panelists' questions there, I guess the reason why we would challenge, these Wahhabis or whoever it is because they keep going down. They're making the same claims and the same sort of thing, and so there needs to be pushback against that. It's the same sort of thing that I saw something with Tommy Robinson coming down on Sunday as well, is for that freedom of speech. And so they keep wanting to restrict this and, make all kinds of mythical claims. And we need to keep countering that or challenging that because otherwise it seems as if they don't have answers. I saw a video with Hijab and Ali Dawa, and they were sitting in the park discussing why is it that everybody's against the Muslims, and they came to the most incredible conclusion that it must be because Islam is so true, and that's why everybody's afraid of it, which of course I think is completely the opposite. It's rather the case that there is a Muslim majority down at the Speaker's Corner, and I think a number of us can, even if we disagree on other topics, we can certainly band together and challenge the Muslims because they are the biggest group. If it was all atheists or if it was all Christians, then I guess we could do it in another method. But it is, as you quite rightly pointed out, Kalam, that it is reliably a certain small subset of Muslims that are often being disruptive, threatening behavior, or in some cases violence. And nobody else that I'm aware of does that. And so that's part of the reason why we need to do this. And hopefully you guys will be there. I can't be there, unfortunately. I would have bought a train ticket down. but hopefully you guys will be there. And even if you disagree with Tommy Robinson, you know, if you can be there to support free speech, I think that's what we all want in Speaker's Corner.
People always talk about the violence comes from the Wahhabis or you know, that strain of Islam. My question is this: before the Wahhabis, when they were on their 5 great jihads, what type of Muslims were they? Because they weren't Wahhabis, and they did just as much murdering and killing and bullshit as the rest of the Muslims do. So people always keep on saying it's like it's just this minority, this minority, this minority. But back in the day, they weren't Sufis, they weren't Wahhabis. I'm sorry, I mean they weren't Sufis, nothing to Sufis, but they were mainstream Muslims going around spreading Islam by the sword in North Africa and up into the, you know, up into Pakistan and these places there. So why do we keep on saying it's just a minority?
Yeah, I always have arguments with people on Twitter, you know, about how Islam doesn't permit the killing of innocents or non-combatants. And the problem is, like you said, it's been going on for thousands of years, because you can read into the Quran and the Hadith in that way that sort of does permit the killing of non-combatants. That's the real problem. It's not just the minority. I mean, it depends. It really needs to be some sort of reformation on the reading of the Quran.
Since day one, there's been no reformation of reading the Quran. The Quran is what it is, and since day one, they've been killing and spreading Islam. No matter what sect you want to call it, which group. At one point, the Shias had their little rampage, the Sunnis had their rampage, the Wahhabis having their rampage. They go through phases of rampages. So I'm tired of hearing it's just a minority. You know what? If it's not the Sunnis, I'm sorry, if it's not the Wahhabis, it will be another group who pops up and just does the same shit.
Yeah, that's the problem. The Wahhabis is the Reformation, isn't it? When they did reform, they got even worse.
Why do people even try and separate them? All of them are fucked up.
That's my point. That's my point exactly. It doesn't matter which one. Stop trying to take a, you know what I mean.
I think we've got to bear in mind that not everybody is going out there killing. There's some of those people that call themselves Muslims and I think the best Muslims are those that don't follow the Quran seriously. So to the extent that they don't follow the Quran, those are the people that you want to interact with. So I don't think you can broad brush, you know, claim that all Muslims are the same. And when
if they don't follow the Quran, are they even Muslim?
Well, they claim to be. So when we say they don't follow the Quran, they'll cherry pick, or they won't know the Quran. So they might do some prayers, they might believe in Allah, they might believe in Muhammad, but they won't do many of the other things that are said.
But I don't consider these people Orthodox Muslim.
So what do you think, Jacob?
Well, I mean, interesting, guys. The issue is, I know what you're saying, that yeah, there's strains, but the problem is maybe Islam is perfect, but Muslims aren't, right? So it depends on the way you read the Quran and if you cherry pick verses, right? So it talks about you can't kill, if you kill one innocent, it's like you've killed the whole of mankind, right? So once you've read that verse, how can you go around and commit genocide and all of that? So do you understand that even if these verses exist and these guys are calling themselves Muslims, it's due to other reasons, not just because they're Muslim. It's sort of like, just because there's correlation doesn't mean causation, in a sense.
I'm just going to put it out there. All the Abrahamic faiths are aggressive, warlike ways of life. All of them, no matter which one. I mean, I remember even when, when President Bush said, you know, the war in Iraq, he called it a holy war. You know, there's crazy Christians, there's crazy Jews, there's crazy Muslims, and but the root is they're all Abrahamic. And for me, I don't care which one it is, they're all the same crock of bullshit.
Yeah, word.
Okay, okay, so the aggressive verses in the Quran, right? They have historical context. You have to understand that the Quran came down as a way of life, right? So if you're being attacked by anyone, you have the right to defend yourself. So when it talks about defending yourself, right? When it talks about go and kill them wherever you see them, it's because they had a peace treaty, but the peace treaty was broken because they came in and they were causing mischief and attacking, right? So that's when the verse came down and said, kill all the disbelievers wherever you see them. So you have to also use your mind. You have to read the whole of the Quran as a whole, not cherry pick. And then you have to use historical context to understand why and what happened.
Yeah, but like I said, if you look at all the Abrahamic faiths as a whole, they're all like this. I saw a movie recently. I think it was called Agoria, about Hypatia of Alexandria. And in that movie, they show you quite clearly how the early Christians used to go about their business. And they were no different than Wahhabis, none whatsoever.
Yeah, but that's because of the people, right? That's not because of what it's like. It's not because of the Quran itself. It's because that's the way the people want to follow the religion. That means they want to cherry pick these verses because it follows their agenda. It's not the religion itself. It's because it helps their agenda. So when Wahhabism came around, right? And if you look into how Wahhabism came around, it's a way to control the people. It's more to do with politics than anything else.
Aren't you tired of hearing this? I mean, it's not the religion, it's the people. I'm tired of hearing this bullshit. I mean, I remember hearing the same shit about Northern Ireland with the Irish when they were bombing everybody in my school and the subways and all that kind of crap. It's not all the Irish, it's just a few of them. But you know what? It only takes one to put that bomb under your ass. All right, so I'm tired of hearing it's not the religion. You know what? If the religion produces these type of people, then get rid of the religion.
For real.
Yeah, this brother's going in.
For real.
You can't doubt the medicine.
What's the solution?
What is the solution?
Louder religions, man. That's the solution.
Innit? Allow them. You know what? If everybody went back to their pre-Abrahamic religion, you know what? Let's say for the Europeans, they went back to their after through belief in the Nordic gods and the Germanic gods, and we blacks went back to all our African spiritual traditions, and everybody went back to their spiritual traditions. We cut away half of this crap.
Exactly.
I don't think I've never read anywhere. I've never read Greeks or Romans went to war in the name of a religion. Never.
Yeah, I think that like the argument at the moment with the defending free speech is like really important to that sense, because if what we're doing at the moment is people's speech who are sort of opposing Islam is really being censored, and I think that's really dangerous, because the only thing that can really combat this sort of extremist ideology is truth. Really, we need to have this sort of dialogue in order to sort of move forward in the future. I think that's really important. I think that's one of the, like, in today's age, very few cultural Christians or people that sort of in the West in general, we've been pacified all in all. We don't really do things in the name of religion anymore, and I think Islam needs to sort of have that same sort of conversation. And it's all well and good to say that we should revert back to pre-Abrahamic religions, but that's realistic. That's never going to happen. I mean, it may happen in thousands of years, but I think we kind of need to look at some sort of solution for the next 100 years, and I don't see how censorship is going to fix that.
You know what I find funny is that usually most of the groups who use freedom of speech to get their point across are the first people who would remove it if they became the power. Islam, the right wing. These people, they're always bragging, we need free speech. But then, I guarantee you, the first thing they would do if they got power was remove it.
Yeah, I think what's his name, Bob the Builder, is sort of coming from that argument too, saying that but that's the sort of thing, like the nationalists or the white nationalists that were at Speaker's Corner the last week, that they're using the freedom of speech as an excuse to get that. But if they came into power, they would also do the same thing. But I think that's the kind of importance of the sort of the Western democracy that we've set up, the foundations of it, that ideas will always beat sort of violence, hopefully. I mean, it sort of seems to have been quite successful over the last couple of 100 years. So, and sort of moving humanity forward. But
the problem with democracy is even an idiot's got the right to vote.
Is there even such thing as a democracy?
No, I mean, okay, let's say when we go to general elections, all right? The average person who goes to the general elections, let's say every political party puts out a manifesto. The only thing I remember people actually caring about was whether they're going to put the tax up on cigarettes or alcohol. The rest of it, they couldn't give a hogwash about. So that's my point, is that the problem with democracy is even the idiot gets the right to vote, which is completely an insane system when you think about it. You can't even spell your own name backwards, and you're deciding whether we should leave the EU or not. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we don't live in a true democracy.
Real quickly, family, real quickly. What I'd love to do is this year, I'd love to mix it up
a little bit, okay? So if I can get because loads of people trying to get in, okay? So if you've had your say, I'll beg, okay? I need guys to be dropping off for like 5 minutes at a time. Get somebody else in for 5 minutes, and another person drops out, and so forth, so we can mix it up. There's quite a lot of people trying to get in right now, so I don't know if anybody right now would like to just jump out for 5 minutes to let somebody else in.
Leave. All I want to say is Ali Dar was a sideman.
Keep on circulating. Sorry? Say again?
Yeah, all I wanted to say is Ali Dar was a sideman, biggest sideman in the park.
All right. Okay. So yeah, let's get mixed up a little bit. And also, if you want to get a specific topic, okay? So family, if you guys are out there that want to hear a specific topic being discussed, okay? Please drop your comments or drop your questions. Just simply tag Titans TV and get involved, okay? To jump in right now. Jump in. Go ahead. Continue the conversation, though.
Kalam, can we just focus on one thing, and that is, in particular, one of the problems that I notice with Islam in particular that I don't see with the other religions, and that is critiquing Muhammad in particular or Allah. And so when like yourself or Sarah or somebody else has critiqued it in some way that one or two Muslims don't like, that's when the freedom of speech is trampled upon, and that's not the same thing that happens with other religions. So, and this sort of being offended for some guy that died 1400 years ago to the rest of us who are non-Muslims is just inexplicable, that you could supposedly love somebody you've never met and you've read a book about. Is it like a historical figure like, you know, Shakespeare or whatever the case is? And this is where freedom of speech is really being suppressed. And, you know, I've seen the videos with you and some of the other guys there where they now don't want to speak to you or Sarah or whatever the case is because you have said something that's quote unquote offensive. And really what we need here is a psychological education upgrade on some people's brains, because they're running old software on the brain. And this is what I see in particular with Islam that I don't see with Christianity or some of the other views. So maybe other people can share their thoughts.
Yeah, they're really blasphemy laws, aren't they?
Yeah, about somebody that's died. You know, some people go, oh, well, if somebody swore at your mom. Now, maybe because I've had a bit of psychological education on this, I would just ask them, well, you're factually incorrect. Can you provide your evidence? I don't get emotional because somebody says, oh, your mom's a whore. I can understand some other people doing that, but they're then equating that with something like Muhammad being said that he's a pedophile, slave trader, or whatever the case may be, and getting emotionally upset. And this is like, you know, taking a toy away from a young child who's then getting upset. And we are, I think that's quite rightly say, we're pandering to this and allowing this to happen, which is, you know, no, we don't. You come up to our level or you find somewhere else. And Speaker's Corner is at the higher level where if you want to get upset, you can go and rant off in the park, in the background there, and then come back when you're done if you want to have a conversation. Otherwise, you guys go and have a little, you know, juvenile club over there, and the rest of us will have an adult conversation here. But that doesn't seem to be happening as much as it should.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't even know if you can help them people, man, because at the end of the day, yeah, those people hold Muhammad and that higher than they hold their parents. So for when you do that, boy, there's no coming back for you. And no matter what you say to them, all it takes is one little slip of the tongue on your part, and they'll just take it into a whole next direction.
Yeah, I don't like that argument, because legally, if you you know, so they always make the argument. It's like if you say something against their parents, but you know, it's still, you still can't go around physically assaulting people, even if they do say something about your parents. So like, it's
exactly,
you know, we do have, you'll get arrested. You know, if somebody says something about your mother and you punch that person, and you get arrested, you're a criminal. That's the laws. Otherwise, it'd be chaos.
The bottom line is Speaker's Corner, and if they're prepared to go to Speaker's Corner to do their da'wah, then they're going to have to be prepared to hear the opposing arguments. And most people, well, not Muslims, do not view Muhammad the same way they do, and they're going to say things which they maybe do not like, which means that they should not be allowed to use violence to get their point across. I mean, it's Speaker's Corner. If they don't like it, don't go there.
Okay. Firstly, right, yeah, you should be allowed to critique the religion. Secondly, violence shouldn't be incited against you. But the issue is, right, sometimes when certain people, right, ask a question, right, it's not done in a nice way, right? So if you have an issue with Islam, for example, yeah, you could come up and be like, hi, I have an issue with Islam. Okay, brother, what's your issue? right? So I have a problem with, for example, the marriage of Prophet Muhammad with Aisha, who was 6, right? That's fine. But now, if you come to me instead and go, your prophet's a pedophile, he's a slave trader, he's racist, he's this, he's that, would you really want to respond like to a person who talks like this? Still, they shouldn't incite violence against you. They should still walk away. But there is like a way, since we're living in an intellectual age, we should be asking questions in a nice way. I'm not accusing anyone of doing it, but I'm saying this does happen.
You're holding everybody to your standards or how you would view things. There are some people, that's how they feel about Muhammad, and that's exactly how they're going to drop it. And like I said, it is speaker's corner. If you don't like that type of speech, then don't be there.
And also, Jacob, you are entitled to walk away if you feel like, you know, you're being offended or somebody's approaching you in a way that you don't like. You're entitled to walk away. But then what you are somehow silently inferring is that actually people need to respect an idea, and that's the difference between respecting you and an idea. The ideas are just something you're renting in your head, and that's what we are critiquing. We're not critiquing Jacob the person, but the ideas themselves. And some people will do it in a more robust manner than others. And that's where some of us are talking about upgrading your psychological level to recognize that these are just ideas. And for you to hold them emotionally so dear to you, there is a cost to that. And that's what we are talking about.
Okay, for example, that's like me, right, coming up to you and being like, what? It's hard for me to say because I personally wouldn't say this, right? But for sake of debate, right, that's like me coming up to you and instead of being like, I question this belief you have, me just swearing at you and being like, this belief is pedophilic. Like, you can have an intellectual debate with knowledge, right? And use good terminology and be respectful without having to call him a pedophile. Or why is it necessary that we must degrade our own terminology and defend the right to say pedophile, say slavery? Why can't you ask in a nice way? I don't understand. Like, what's wrong with asking in a nice way? And I'm not saying that they're right to fight you back.
Well, what is a nice way though, Jacob? Because by today's standards, that's what we see Allah as being. Now, if the claim was from Muslims, hey, this was a guy that helped, you know, the pagans move forward in the 7th century, but, you know, we've moved on from then we'd be going, you know what, a lot of these conversations we wouldn't be having. But Muslims make the claim that this is the perfect example to follow, and everything that he did then is still applicable today. And by today's standards, that's not the case. And these are the labels that we give that sort of behavior today. So one of the claims needs to go. Either you need to drop the claim that Muhammad's the perfect guy, or you need to be okay with people using modern day labels if you're going to claim that this is still something that everybody should be following today.
It's not only that, they're also there for a purpose. They're there to actually give dawah. They're not there for an actual intellectual conversation. They're not, that's the last thing on their mind. They're there to get converts to Islam. If you want to call it Wahhabism, because they're not all Wahhabis there. There are some regular Muslims, I'm pretty sure, who are trying to get people to become Muslims. So they're there for a purpose and they have an agenda. And so sometimes you have to meet fire with fire sometimes, I think.
Can I ask Jacob? Can I say something? Jacob, the brother that was just talking, that I think is a Muslim brother, Jacob, yeah? Have you been down to Speaker's Corner before? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah. Have you been Speaker's Corner before, by any chance?
I went once, like a really, really long time ago.
Okay, so the reason why I asked that, yeah, because if you do go down to Speaker's Corner, well, obviously of recent times, yeah, I think the Speaker's Corner that you have in your mind where you're saying, you know, people ask intellectual questions and all this stuff, I think those days are kind of gone out the window. You know, there are some people that try to, but it just never gets to that. Because obviously you can see from the Speaker's Corner's videos that you've been seeing for the last year, maybe 2, you can see that there's just been a lot of violence because, you know, somebody said something that someone didn't like. Some people are saying this, and it was just a whole tension. There was a time when, you know, the tension level was like almost 100%. Yeah, because of, you know, somebody saying something. And you got to realize, like it is, like the brothers are saying, yeah, it is Speaker's Corner. At the end of the day, you're gonna get anybody coming down. Not everybody coming down is gonna be, you know, as intellectual as you would want. So you're saying that you would like it for someone to be nice and be like, oh, hi. So the Prophet, can you know, people, I know what you're saying. You want people to ask in a nice way, but not everybody's going to come around like that. Some people are going to come out harsh. Some people are going to come out soft. Some people are going to come out intellectual. It just depends which ones you have the discussion with. because you can pick, like the brother said, you can pick and choose who you want to have your discussions with, or whether you want to have it on camera or not. Do you see what I'm saying? So
yeah, no, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no. So what's basically what's been happening now, of what you can see is that the narrative that I've seen and that I know from me coming down there, yeah, is that anytime it's free for certain Muslims to say, to say what they want to, to the Christians, to the atheists on camera, or even to the so-called, Kemites, which they've labeled us, which really and truly we're just Africans. They can say what they like, yeah, and it's fine. But the moment we say anything wrong, you see a group of Muslims coming around, crying around, what did he say? What did he say? And there's an uproar, and then people get scared, people get pushed over, people get pushed off ladders. Do you see what I'm saying? And there's a big squabble. So you can see this is what happens. If you come down there, and I'm sure people that are down at Speaker's Corner, they can even tell you this. This is what they see. This is what happens. Because I've seen Muslims, yeah, getting at flipping Christians in a way, chasing them, almost chasing them around the park. Do you know what I mean? Over something they've said. So it's just what's happening is people on YouTube are seeing it in a certain way. That's why I always say people need to come down there and see it for themselves firsthand. Then you can be like, okay.
No, I agree 100% with you, bro. The advice I'm giving, yeah, is for both. Like, I'm 100% Muslims are more wrong, right? Like, especially Shamsi, for example, right? Why would you want to even talk to him? I mean, that's what I mean. I wouldn't even want to talk to the guy. He just calls everyone a kuffar straight away. Like, why would you even talk to him? He's just derogatory. And this is both people. I mean, like, this isn't to like just one side. I mean, both sides. Muslims are as wrong, if not worse, to be honest. But what I'm saying is, we have to. No, I agree with you, right? They should. But what I'm saying is, if there is like an issue and they're being like rude and disrespectful, just walk away. It is to both like people. I'm sorry, like if it seems like I'm being more on like the Muslim side. I do mean both sides. Like, I personally would never debate Shamsi. There's no point. He's just rude and like he's just derogatory. Why would you? There's no intellectual conversation. He's just being arrogant. You're gonna lose the fight, just the debate, because he's arrogant. What's the point?
Yeah, just same as that routed Adnan as well, man. All of them not need to get loud on that, man. They're just got some issues, some underlying proper issues and that, fam.
But that's the thing, though. They're not there for conversation. They're there to give dawah. So, first of all, if they're there to give dawah, why are they chasing down Christians? That's the last person they're going to convert. Forget the Christians. So, the Christians who are there giving Christian dawah are not about to be converted by any Muslim. Not in this decade. All right? So, if you're there to give dawah, why are you running down people who you got no chance with?
They're just trying to be bullyish. They're just bullying. They're just trying to be bullyish, man. You see it on the videos.
Dawah, MMA.
Yeah, it's true. And it's true. And guys, I can see, and it's true what you guys are saying, Do you know why? Because what I feel was happening, and this is what I spoke about as well on the other show with Kalam just the other day, is I think they're pushing some propaganda for some reason. It's like they want to create some type of tension and war between a group of people that really and truly nothing's even there. So for instance, you hear a lot of the Muslims talking about the Kemites. There's never been once there where anybody there mentioned themselves or said that they're Kemites. Never once. This has just been a label here that they've coined us because they've heard on things that we spoke about where we've said, it's based on Kemetic philosophy instead of saying African philosophy. We thought we'll just use the language, you know what I mean? So they've coined this term Kemites here. So that means any person of black skin that comes down to the part that speaks, that doesn't tell them they're a Christian or Muslim, they automatically assume that, are you a Kemite? So really and truly, they automatically think that any black person that comes to the park is a Kemite. You see what I'm saying? Which really is, and this is the narrative that they kind of push. So they're trying to push like this whole Islam versus Kemite, but really and truly, it's Islam versus black Africans. Because no one here hasn't called themselves Kemite. There's no corner where people are saying, yeah, we're the Kemites, and this is this. Do you know what I'm saying? We've never come out. We've just had normal discussions with them. They throw Sarah into the whole Kemite thing. They throw me, Kalam, anyone. They just throw them all into this Kemite. People from the G circle, they just throw them in. Yeah, these are the Kemites. These are the Kemites. Do you see what I'm saying? And now you have some agenda. So you have Muhammad Hijab. He posted a comment up saying in the same comment he said you have neo-Nazi fascists and Kemites joining together, against Islam. Then in the same comment at the bottom he says the Kemites, with quotations, these Kemites are also black supremacists and racists who see white people as inferior or something to do with nature. How does that make sense? If the Kemites if the Kemites are what he says we are, black supremacists and racists towards white people, how are you now going to put us in the same comment saying that we're joining up with the neo-Nazi fascists? What? How does that make any sense to you? This is to show you that
we live in a world where people use labels wrongly. How much times he's a what's the word? Fashion fascist, and you hear people calling that the Americans called Barack Obama a communist, and then they call him a fascist at the same time. How the hell can he be a communist and a fascist at the same time? People just throw out words and they actually don't know. I mean, even the word neo-Nazi, what the hell is a neo-Nazi? There's only one type of Nazi. There's one type of Nazi.
Do you know what it is? They're scared, man. They're scared, right? What it is, yeah, they're starting to see like Gabs, Kalam, and all the brothers there starting to bring the medicine to them, and they're realizing now, yeah, they're going back. They're doing the research. People like Adnan, Shamsi, all them ones that they call their top guys in that. They're going back. They're doing the research, and they're starting to realize that they can't refute what's being said, and now they're being threatened. You see what I'm saying? So now they're having to switch up the tactics, try and come with some next thing. But fam, nah, man, you know what I mean? Them thing they can't run.
And do you know what? Do you want me to tell you what's funny about it as well? Yeah, because remember, look. Brother Kalam asked, there was one video, Kalam asked Adnan Rashid, yeah, if he's actually, what does he know about this so-called, you know, the Kemite, the philosophy that we talk about, has he done any research? And Adnan clearly said he has not done any research, he has not looked into it. He's just heard little few things now and again. He's heard about a guy called Malachi Ziyok. I know for a fact, yeah, that Muhammad Hijab has not looked into Kemet philosophy. I know for a fact that Shamsi has not looked into Kemet philosophy. I know for a fact that probably about a majority of the Muslims down there have not looked into anything. Even the people in the chats, yeah, that are actually agreeing with him, that are Muslims, saying, yeah, it's the black supremacist thing. Yeah, they're just following what their Muslim leaders are saying. They actually have not looked or gone into it. Me and Kalam have done so many videos breaking down stuff on there, yeah, showing you in the scripture where it says men are created equally, yeah, there's no race, showing you, proving it in your face on facts, but then you still want to throw in this whole black supremacist. I don't understand why they're trying to put these labels on us. But it's true.
Wait. Did Kalam not say that black people are superior?
Say again?
Did Kalam not say that black people are superior?
Have you heard him say that? He's right here. Ask him. Ask him.
Hello?
I don't think Titans TV's pro-black in any whatsoever. I wrote earlier in the comment. I mean, my only problem with Titans TV is that because I don't think they're pro-black at all, and exactly. I think that's really confusing. And I will say this though: if I was a Muslim, if I was Adnan Rashid and Muhammad Hijab, I understand their slight problem, because when I listen to Titans TV, because I'm not Muslim of any sect, I'm not Christian of any type, and so when I do listen to Titans TV, you on one hand you slate Islam, on the other hand you big it up. I can see their confusion, and lately, over the last couple of months, it's clearly shifted to the Ahlul Bayt is the in Islam, according to Titans TV, from my interpretation of what I'm listening to. And I can understand that, because if I was a Muslim, I would also be following the Ahlul Bayt. But I do think there is a bit of it's two hands, and it's like you're trying to please both, and I think that's a little bit difficult to do. So I can understand why some Muslims would be confused after listening to Titans TV.
Yeah, it's only Muslims that are like viewing Titans TV as being like black supremacists. Though I don't think I've ever come across anybody but Muslims that make that claim. Exactly. I mean, I'm not black. I'm Asian, white, and everything I've heard from Titans TV is, I mean, Kalam in particular is extremely knowledgeable about Islam, and he's more than fair to it. He's sort of, I think he's trying to do justice to it. But there's no way I'd see nobody but Muslims make that claim.
And it's a good point you said that. I'm glad you said that. Isn't it funny, yeah, that the ones that are screaming out that were black supremacists and racists against whites, yeah, they're defending the whites, yeah, are the Muslims from Sleepy Corner. But yet you have not, like you said, on this channel we have people like we have so many different ethnicities that come onto the panel. yeah, that Kalam allows onto the panel, into the chat room. People talk up. We don't hear no one from the European background saying, yeah, do you know what? These guys are some racists. I've seen them say some racist stuff against us white people, like blah 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 blah. This is this. We ain't seen no one from the Asian saying, yes, these guys are racist. They said something about the Asian community. They said that no one has come up and say that, except for these so-called Muslims who are at the park, that because they can't deal with the information that we give them, they just revert to name calling. Do you know what? We can't deal with the information. So the best way that we can get people to turn on them is just throw out these big words. Okay, they're black supremacists. They're racist. They're anti-Islam. They're enemies of Islam. Because when you start getting these big words thrown at you, now it's down to you to prove yourself that you're not that. Because people are subconsciously going to think, maybe are they racist? Because I don't really know. Maybe I have to check and see what they do. Do you see what I'm saying? Because someone's gone.
It's like you just said. You said those so-called Muslims, right? And there is a division right there. When you said those so-called Muslims, they believe they're Muslims. What you believe is another thing. And so when you say those so-called Muslims, and then you bring on Rizza, and it's, yeah, big up the Ahlul Bayt, big up the family of Muhammad, that is a division in what you're saying. I agree with you. I don't think Wahhabis are Muslims. But is it for us to say to them who believe that they are Muslims without causing a division? And then you wonder why there's animosity between the groups in Speaker's Corner?
Possibly. The reason why I say those so-called Muslims, yeah, because I'm telling you, when you're down the park, you can tell the ones that are actually following the Quran, yeah, the ones that are following the Quran, you can tell who those Muslims are. And these Muslims even come and tell you, they come out to us and say, Gabs, please don't put us in the same category as these ones. These guys are not following the Quran. They're not, the things that you guys speak about and the questions you ask are valid questions. They're not giving you the true answers and the true respect that a Muslim is supposed to show. Do you see what I'm saying? That's the reason why I say those so-called Muslims, because the ones that coming out and just throw out all this propaganda, you know, throw out all these propaganda, all these slurs, you know, throw out all these big terms that they think people are going to be like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Yeah. And like the video we showed where Adnan Rashid's calling, you know, Kemite BS and saying that black people that follow any African philosophy is basically ignorant. That's basically what he's saying. Any black African that wants to go and follow or understand any of their culture or history is ignorant. Yeah,
Adnan Rashid's confused though, brother. He's a confused man.
He's confused, but remember, he's confused. But remember, to these people, this guy's a big, intelligent man. He's got followers. Adnan Rashid is a Muslim. He got followers. He's got major respect. Most of these guys are under his wing. So this is what I'm trying to say. So if Adnan Rashid is confused, then what's going to happen to the ones that are his followers?
He's the most well-spoken of all of them. I mean, he's the most articulate, Adnan Rashid. And he's like the, I don't know, he thinks he's pro-black. I don't know what he thinks, but I honestly believe the man feels he's pro-black. But at the same time, he say racist comments with words which he have to use a dictionary to figure out what he meant. And I don't know, the man's got some, I don't know what's wrong with the guy, to be honest with you. It's something not quite right in his head.
Yeah, he's got issues. Adnan has got some serious, that man is some undercover racist, man.
Come on, love.
He's some serious racist. Trust me.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. He is.
Trust me, that guy there. Some of the things that he comes out with, I have to think to myself, "Rah, is my man for real? Is he actually for real?" Even the other day when Kalam caught him out when he was talking about the crowing thing.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Yo, good.
And this is what I'm saying. People are just seeing that, and you got people that agree with them. They don't see it. It's like the brother said we're in the intellectual age. I'm thinking, are we really? Because it's like now people are just following and becoming sheeps. People sound intellectual and say big words, and people just jump on the bandwagon and agree. No one's not really using no intellect. Because think about it. If I'm a Muslim now, or if I'm a Christian right now, or atheist, and a group of people come and say, you know, they're talking about some African culture and history, and you know they want to ask some questions. The first thing I'm going to do is think, you know what? Before I even bash or even give any names and start giving out name calling, throwing out name calling and all this stuff, I'm going to take time out to research this, because maybe if I'm coming to Speaker's Corner and I'm saying I want to come and debate and you know have discussions, I need to do the work and research. You know, you got do the background check on your opponent. That's what everybody does. Do you see what I'm saying? You don't sleep on your opponent and just come to the and just come to the debate, like not studying. Do you know what I mean?
We're in the intellectual age. The Wahhabis are in the 7th century somewhere. Okay, this is the problem. I mean, this is why do they get mad at Gary for using his iPad? Jesus, this is the 21st century. Why can't he use a goddamn iPad?
Yeah, it's true.
If that gives the information which they need to hear, you know what? They should actually take a note from him and pull up their own iPads if they want to refute what he's saying.
Yeah. It's funny, you know, and they're the ones that do most of the most Google stuff because they've gone on Google and done quick research and tried to give claims to us, and we're looking at them saying, no. See, you just done a quick Google search, and now because you don't know what to search, and because you know what I mean, because like you said, they're back in the BC era, yeah. They're just coming out with these wild claims, and we're like, listen, like technology is upgraded. There's information that you can actually go and see. That's the whole purpose of it. Are you gonna get at Gary just because Gary puts his stuff on the iPad and he thinks it's best so he can show people evidence? What's wrong with that? Do you know what I mean?
When I used to go Speaker's Corner 20 years ago,
One second. Again, there's a few people that would like to join in. Okay, there's a few people that like to join in. So if anybody can pop out for a little while, whilst we get some new voices onto the platform, so they can have their say. Please drop out so we can get some new voices on to have their say. All right, let me go back. Going to continue.
I got a quick question before I drop out. So Tommy Robinson sort of claims that Ali Hijab and Ali Dawah and Muhammad Hijab, that sort of Salafi sort of style is a stepping stone to ISIS. What do people think about that? Like, is it like the stepping stone to it? I'm going to drop out now. I got family stuff to do. See you guys.
Jeez. All right. Guys, I don't know if you lot would like to answer it. I would say this. Quite possibly they are you know, the stepping stones. Quite possibly, but are they directly related? That's a very difficult you know, that's very difficult to prove. So I'm gonna just let everybody come in and do what you lot got to do. I'm tired. Hold on real quickly. We've got Daniel Danks. Did you have anything to say? Okay, Daniel Danks. Daniel Danks. Please unmute your mic and say something, because I don't want to have to eject you, so we make room for another person to come in. I know you must have been waiting to come in. Okay, Megatron, where did you go? We need to get you back in here as well. All right, let me just open it back up. I'm going back in to have a little nap, and you lot continue. Hey, yo, Megatron. Yeah, we can hear you. Go on.
Can you hear me
Your
well?
mic's open. Go ahead.
Yeah, we can hear you, bro.
We can hear you well.
Right, because I can't hear you very well for some reason. Just bear with me. Right. Okay. So I just want to say, so you can all hear me.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I just want to say a couple of things. Right. The Muslims at Speaker's Corner, and I call Speaker's Corner Wahhabi headquarters. The Muslims at Speaker's Corner, they continuously, for example, mock the Christian concept of the Holy Spirit, who in Christianity is considered to be God as well. However, if a Christian or someone else would dare something say about Allah, such as what Shamsi thought Kalam was being disrespectful about Allah. However, at Speaker's Corner, the Muslims are continuously disrespectful, like Hashim, like Hamza Maya, about the Holy Spirit. They also are very derogatory about the Apostle Paul, who in Christianity would be the equivalent of Muhammad in a sense. However, they continuously mock, but if we were to dare say something about their God or their prophet, they suddenly get all heated about it. So again, this is just the double standards by the Islamic Dawah track team at Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The double standards there. I had Bill Warner on my show a little while ago, and he talks about it. He was a physicist. He studied Islam for like 10 years. He's written about 20 books on it. He's written a Quran in sequential order so that you can actually read it in a better way. He was saying the same thing as duality. They seem to be comfortable with dual natures of things. Contradictions seem to, just bypass them. Where most of us would go, hang on a moment, that would trigger a response from us. From some of them, it's just okay with some of these contradictions and double standards.
Mm. Also,
Mate, you're 100% right, Megatron. Like, this double standard is 100% wrong. Like, they shouldn't be talking in that way and then not expect it to happen to them. Like, I'm 100% with you, mate.
Like, there's a video on YouTube where Hashim, he's a Muslim retard at Speaker's Corner, he's making this derogatory sign with his hand saying, "Oh, come here, Holy Spirit, come here, Holy Spirit," and he's been very disrespectful. Imagine if we did about Allah. Imagine the uproar that we would see if he did that, if we did that with Allah. So again, I'm very happy that Tommy Robinson is coming to Speaker's Corner. I've met him twice. He's a very nice guy, and I can't come, but I really would have liked to, but some other day maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But isn't that the argument that, everything should be permitted apart from direct incitement to violence? Because otherwise, who chooses? Because I could go down there and play the same card.
That's my point. I think everyone should be able to see whatever they want. All I'm trying to highlight is the double standards. If you want to mock my religion, that's fine. Jesus says if someone persecutes you, just go flee into the other city, meaning just go away from them. Like, if you're being rude, I'm just not going to stand there. I'm just going to walk away and be the bigger man. If you want to have a good dialogue, then fine, we can have that. So I'm just trying to highlight the double standards.
Yeah, agreed. So, apart from direct incitement to violence, anything else, should be able to be said.
Correct.
And actually, being an atheist, I can, I do not see obviously I critique all the religions. Islam I focus on a bit more, but I don't see a problem with, the Trinity in the following sense, that if there's an all-powerful God, he can certainly, infuse some of his essence into a human body and then into something else. That's part of being a powerful God. Now, where it comes to the Bible to try and justify that, maybe that's a bit more of a gray area. But the continuous claims and the uncharitability of them challenging Christians, and I listen to this, either on videos and when I used to go down there, 1 + 1 + 1 = 1. How does that work? This is not a charitable way of having a conversation, but I don't think they understand what charitability is.
It's like when the Muslims say, oh, the Hindus worship a cow. I'm pretty sure Hindu theology is a lot more intricate and nuanced than worshipping a cow. Or when the Muslim at Speaker's Corner say, oh, Kemets worship baboons. Again, I've studied Kemeticism a little bit, and I can tell you that Kemet philosophy goes way more than, well, they don't even worship baboons in the first place, but it's just they're very derogatory and very flippant about the way they talk about other people's philosophies. But if you dare say something against them, they would all get in a big hissy fit.
Yeah, but you're missing the point. Islam is perfect.
But again, that's okay.
That's why they can say what they say, because they honestly believe it's perfect. I've never heard a Christian say to me, "I believe Christianity is perfect." I've never actually heard them say that. I've heard Muslims say it all the time.
Yeah, just the arrogance of them, really. Like, I would never say I know 100% that God is true. Like, I would describe myself as an agnostic who holds a firm belief in the Christian, who holds a positive conviction in the Christian God. I would never say I'm absolutely convinced. I would just say I believe Christianity is the best philosophy, the best way of looking at the world, and therefore I follow it. So I think this is just the arrogance of the Muslims at Speaker's Corner.
I think it's because it's the latest addition to the Abrahamic family. So therefore, they've kind of got carte blanche on, basically they said they're the seal of it. Basically, everything was done right with Islam. God, cleaned up all the mistakes of Judaism and Christianity, and so that's the kind of the position they put themselves in, which makes it very difficult. Like that Imam said when he was speaking to Tony Robinson, he says, how can you reform it when they actually believe it's perfect? I mean, he hit the nail on the head with that one.
Hello.
So how many people are going down? Gabs, are you going down on Sunday?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna be down there, man, because to me it's another normal day. Like I don't know why people have I don't know why this whole thing of Sunday's been hyped up like that, just because Tommy Robertson's coming down, and I think Mohammed Hijab doing that video and writing those comments out is just some propaganda speech, trying to get obviously his people riled up and stuff like that, because there was no need for that. Because the moment you mention Sarah, who's already obviously viewed as a what's the word? He's already hated in the Muslim in the Islamic speakers corner as people's minds, yeah, and Tommy Robinson. So he thought it would be the best time here to do a comment involving both of them, and then add in a little extra sources, the Kemites, black supremacists, all of that. He merged all of that into one comment, yeah, just to create some big propaganda there. So when people come down to Speaker's Corner on Sunday, they're gonna expect to see maybe the whole of Africa down there, maybe they're gonna see Tommy Robinson with National Front flags and people with Nazi uniforms on, and they're just gonna go to war. You know what I mean? They're gonna be on one side, we're gonna be on another side. It's gonna be chaos, but it's nothing like that. This is what people's in their mindset. This is what people are thinking. People are getting excited, thinking, "Oh, I wonder what's gonna happen, guys. Be careful. Oh, you going down?" Do you know what I mean? It's all been created. All this hype just been created for what? Tommy Robinson's coming down to speak. So, do you know what I mean?
They're turning it into Speaker's Corner into something it's not supposed to be. And I'm sorry, this started with the Wahhabis, because when I went down there 20 odd years ago, it never used to be like this. All right, it's turning. It wasn't an open air mosque when I went there 20 years ago. It is today. I mean, he never had this type of a hype around it. We used to go down there, just chat to mans and speak to mans like Ishmael was up there back in those days. It was nothing like this, and they've turned it into something which actually I see it being closed down in the next 20 years if it continues along this path.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all about the views as well, because we've got to be careful. I always say not all Muslims, because that's clearly, in my view, not the case, and especially with Pew polling, it sort of says that as well. But these regulars to Speaker's Corner have got gullible and credulous followers that don't care what's true, and they go there to listen to the drama. And if their man spoke in Taiwanese or Chinese, they wouldn't understand any different. And if it looks like he's, quote, winning the argument, that's what they care about, because they're not there to listen to intellectual debate. And so these guys can literally say anything and they'll be backed up by their credit. I see it all the time in the comments, and I cannot believe that there are human beings that actually take the time to write some of these comments and say some of the crazy things they do. Yep. And so these are the people that they're appealing to. It's not people in this panel here who will actually think about things, who will go and view and look up what these guys claim. And when you look it up, then what do you find? At best, it's cherry picking or quote mining. Or half truth at best. That's why they very seldom come online, because you can go look online. So he makes a claim, boom, we can go look it up. I saw the video the other day of Abbas, and I did it on Gin and Tonic earlier today, where we critiqued Abbas and Steve from Speaker's Corner. He made a claim about, slaughtering halal meat. There's been a study. So what do? We go look it up. What do we find? It's a 1976 study that's been completely rebutted. Animals do feel pain under any circumstances except when they're slaughtered. Well, that's the best you can be. So these things are easily refuted online, but not when you're at Speaker's Corner. And that's, of course, what they do. Bring up some old claims which you can't easily refute. And that's the sort of audience that they are appealing to.
But the thing about Speaker's Corner is the people are not there actually to debate or to actually learn anything. I've seen time and time again where Gabs and Sarah and Kalam have given clear, indisputable evidence that any Muslim would hear. There is no rebuttal. There is none. And then what do you hear from Muslims? I don't understand the question. That's their go-to phrase. I don't understand the question. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, because sometimes there's something which just cannot be refuted. You just cannot. And the same thing, I mean, if you take the Muslim versus Muslim, if you take the Shia against the Sunnah, what the Shia brothers are saying to the Sunni brothers, they cannot refute it Islamically. If you're from Muslim to Muslim point of view, they can't refute it. But yet they're going to sit there and then just basically curse them out and call them, they believe that Ali is God or some random statement. I mean, if you can't go there for the intellectual debate or to actually learn something, it's like, imagine if those Muslims pick up a book, they pick up a factual book, like a science book, and they say, well, I don't believe that, this is that, or the moon is there, or the 2 and 2 is 4. You can't, certain things you just cannot refute. And that just irritates me with these people.
Yep.
Well, like I said, good afternoon, gentlemen. Like I said, it's literature, and literature can be true or false. And if we critique the literature and we find errors in there, and then you question it, you're made to look stupid. But as a philosopher, we know we expect to be ridiculed because you're looking at people who's been taught this kind of nonsense right through their childhood, coming up to their big stage, and they keep talking about something that died nearly 2,000 years ago. There's no help for them, really.
It's big, Rich. And also just to let them people know, because I know obviously Mohammed Hijab, Shamsi, you know, all the speakers corners Muslims, I know they're all going to be tuning in and watching this. I'm letting them know from now on, someone's not do that. I'm letting them know from now on, if you're gonna don't put me under no Kemet label or some Kemite label that you've coined for us. Just if you're gonna call me anything, just call me an African philosopher. That's what I go by. That's the term that I go by, an African philosopher. That's it. This whole Kemite thing now, just you need to. I don't. Anytime they mention Kemite, I'm gonna think, well, you ain't talking about me. I don't know what you're speaking about. I'm an African philosopher, and that's it. That's who we are. That's all I am, an African philosopher. So I'm gonna let them know, because I can see what narrative they're trying to push. Because now it's gonna be funny to see what they say once people start saying, yeah, we're African philosophers, you know, that deal with culture. Now you're gonna say, well, Islam versus African philosophy. You see what I'm saying? Then we can start.
Call you a black supremacist. That's what they're gonna say. They say you're a black supremacist.
Black supremacist, of course. Because you know what I mean. The reason why they'll call you that is because someone will call you that because they don't understand your history and your culture and your heritage and your philosophy. You see what I'm saying?
Gabs, just call yourself a Wakandist.
A Wakandist.
See what they say then.
They'll still say, yeah, another form of black supremacy. You can't win, bro.
When they say that to you, Gab, say, what kind of shit is that you're talking about?
Bro, you can't win, bro. I'm telling you. They see all they see is black supremacists. I view myself as a fairy god father or something, and they'll say, yep, black supremacist. You see what I'm saying? Anything I say is a black supremacist.
Well, you know what, Gavs? That's what they're going to do, because, like I said, when you gave them the medicine, if you're asking questions after questions that doesn't make sense to the psyche, the only thing to do is attack you personally.
Yeah.
That's all they're going to do.
It's
if they can't answer your question, they're going to attack you personally. As far as I'm concerned, I've never really seen Sarah, Gary, Kalam, and yourself, Gabs, disrespect any one of them in any way.
No.
I've never seen it. But when they speak about your religion, they're quick to say it's a cult. They're quick to say it's Africans. But then suppose I say that about Islam, people get on my back.
They'll do a little sly video of you calling you Islamophobe, blah blah.
And really, truly, well, we haven't even turned over Islam, in a sense, if we're supposed to talk about that in a sense. It's just because of the repercussions. You're like, let me not offend people. But they don't spare no time offending us and in what we believe.
Good morning, gentlemen. For just dive in there and say hello. How you doing?
So, anyway.
Yeah. Do you know what? I was thinking about jumping in there and playing devil's advocate, and I find it very, very hard, to be honest. My only concern is this. This is the one concern I have. Okay, you guys really know how I feel about certain things, really. My concern is this. Do you know what? When certain individuals label the whole of Islam as a violent this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. I get that for the Wahhabis. I get that for that Salafi, Thug Islam, Hyde Park thing. I get that. But you know what? I got friends of mine who are Shia. They're Muslims, same way. I got friends of mine who are Sufis. They're Muslims, same way. So when you insult the whole religion, that's where I have a serious issue with. Do you get what I mean? And
just a bit, bro. It's not the same way, though, bro. It's not the same way. The Sufis and the Shia and the Wahhabis is not the same way.
No.
We're talking three different types of Islam right there.
I know.
Even the Muslims say it themselves. What does it say in the Hadith? There'll be 73 sects of Islam, or whatever it says. We're talking about sects here, so they're not the same way, bro.
When you say they're not the same way, elaborate. What does that actually mean?
Well, as you can see, one want to go bust up man, one want to educate the next man, one just wants to be spiritual and spin around in a circle. They do things differently, bro.
Right. So that's exactly my point. That's why it's very insulting for a person or an individual, a bunch of people, to insult the whole of Islam.
Who are you speaking about?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Who you was talking about?
Specifically, Tommy Robinson. Specifically.
Okay.
I remember I had this conversation, and I don't want to keep going over the same thing over and over again, but he is a high standing person in society amongst his people as well. Okay, so people look up to him. He's like an Adnan. People look up to him for intellect because they don't possess the certain intellect that is required to understand. Right. So when he's giving out rubbish and he's chatting rubbish, then people will eat that up and take that and perpetuate that. And that's one of my main concerns with that guy. Do you understand? Not just him, but there's other people as well.
But you know, through history, the good always suffer for the bad. And really,
of course, absolutely.
So what we see really is when we see Islam, all right, we see a lot of it from the media, but the people who you see in Hyde Park, you don't see the good Muslims standing up there going, come and have a conversation with us, where it's filmed, where you can. I haven't seen one Muslim, apart from Sabir, I think his name is, that you could probably have a good intellectual conversation with.
Well, I don't know about that. I think the Shias give those idiots a good run.
No, I'm not even talking about the Shias. I'm talking about those who I see there. But
this is even why I hate these people, and I'm not allowed to hate, but I can tell you now, I hate people like that. I hate ISIS. I literally hate them. Why? Because you know what? They're dragging. Another Muslim can't go against another Muslim. Another Muslim can correct and advise, but when the crunch comes to the crunch, he can't be a traitor. It's like apostasy.
Yeah, but why is that? Are they Freemasons?
Forget about why it is.
Whoa, what's wrong with Freemasons?
No, I'm just saying, but he's saying that another Muslim can't go against another Muslim. But if I see Gabs doing something wrong, are you telling me that I can't tell him that what you're doing is wrong?
No, listen to what I just said, Rich Kid. He can advise and he can help, but when crunch comes to crunch, he's not allowed to go against another Muslim. He has to back.
Why not?
It doesn't matter why. It's the truth, yeah. So that being the case, when these idiot when these idiot people fug Islam, start their rubbish and nonsense, what Muslim's going to turn up and say, you know what, you're wrong. I'm going to stop you. I'm going to this. Because you know what? The minute they do that, they're demonized as being a traitor by their own people. And those people, those Salafis know that. That's why they can get away with that rubbish. You understand? That's why I hate them.
Buddha, I think the problem is people are past this stage now of separating them. People have got to the stage where, you know what, we're just going to say all of them, all right? Because since I was a little kid, they were telling me, it's only this section of the Muslims are like this, and only this section of terrorists, and they still say it today on TV. All the time the media says that. But the truth is, the average man on the street, he's not, forget that. I'm just going to label all of them, and people say, yeah, the Shias are way better. When I was a kid in the 80s, it was the Shia who was the hot topic. They were the ones blowing up airplanes. They were the ones who got their windows blown out when the SAS went into their embassy, right? It was, you know what? Then there's the PLO. They were not ISIS and all them things there. So every decade, there's a new type. There's a new type of Muslim who is doing something heinous to non-Muslims somewhere, even to their own people.
And do you think that viewpoint that you have is constructive?
Yes, it's very constructive.
But the question is it true? Is it true or not? That's the question.
I don't think it's true at all, and I would rebuke a lot of the things you said. In fact, even when you were saying about the IRA and stuff like that, you've got to understand some people are just, one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. Do you understand? So you talk about on the PLO and stuff. What about the ANC? Would you say they're the same sort of stuff? We're getting political now. It's not about politics. We're trying to isolate a religion and why people attack a certain religion and not a certain individual within that religion.
The way I see it is, my thing with Islam is
Islam is basically Arab imperialism, as far as I'm concerned. That's basically all it is. If you take away all the spooky stuff, all the religious stuff, it's basically just Arab imperialism. Anytime you got to get a guy to change his name to an Arab name, he's growing out his beard, he's got to change the way he dresses, he's got to go to Mecca, he's got to do this, he's got to do that. I mean, you're killing indigenous cultures, and that's my problem with Islam in Africa. It's an assault on who we are.
Yes, no, I absolutely agree. And the thing is this, when the bottom line is, I mean, some of you guys I've never spoke to before, but I'll just go over it quickly. I'm a firm believer in peace, okay? So I will always advocate for peace. Exhaust every single diplomatic, peaceful means you can, but when that is exhausted, then fight to the death, because you'd better die on your feet than live on your knees. That's the bottom line. And that's what I see in this country. And I don't want that fight to happen in this country, because like I keep saying, it will be bloody.
That's what you Muslim boys want, though. You boys want to take over the country slowly, bro. Speaking truthful shit. That's what you want.
Muslim boys, are you referring to me, sir?
Not you personally. I'm talking about Muslims as a whole.
Really?
Yeah, as a whole. Okay, if a Muslim doesn't want to have Islam to be the dominant world religion, then why is he a Muslim?
Okay.
Just to make you aware, I'm not actually a Muslim. I'm Buddhist, but yeah, okay.
I'm talking about Muslims, though, bro, not Buddhists. I'm talking about actual Muslims.
Okay. Where does it say in Islam that you need to go take over countries and empower the country with Sharia law or whatever?
Just study the history.
That's what you've done. That's what you've done, historically speaking.
That's exactly what Muhammad was doing. Was going around conquering different countries and forcing Islam on it.
He didn't conquer. He used it to defend the religion.
Can I just say, there's a hadith which says that Islam will be in every single household. And if you look at the example of the 4 caliphs after the Prophet Muhammad, the 4 generations that came after him, how do you think Islam spread from all the way from Spain, all the way to the west, all the way to the east? They go say, oh, did they recite Surah Al-Fatiha and suddenly the pagans thought, oh, this must be the truth? Or did they put the sword to their necks and say, convert to Islam or die? This is basic history. And you also have to look at the example of Muhammad's closest companions after he died.
Exactly. Muhammad was a warrior. He was a warrior, basically. He wasn't just a religious leader. He was a warrior. And he had a state and an army, and he was going around conquering people. And when he died, the caliphs that came after him did the same thing. That's Islamic history. Can't deny that. And that's where ISIS and all these organizations get their rationale from, because they're looking back at the history of Islam and saying,
that's very true. Yeah,
they're just saying, hey, we're doing what the Prophet did, and the Quran says, and the Hadith say that the Prophet is an example for all of us. So we're just doing what the Prophet is doing.
That's very true. But times change. We live in a different era. The bottom line with that is this: we cannot accept being forced to convert to any kind of religion, be it Christianity or whether it's through doctrine, whether it's through sword, whether through economics, does not matter. We cannot be forced to do anything that which we don't want to do. Okay, so that's and I think everyone will concur with that.
You might not be forced to. You might not do it willingly, but the Muslims historically did force people to become.
Okay, we're talking about now.
But they still do.
They still do, bro.
The thing is,
what are you talking about?
Bro, today that was still happening, bro. That was still happening.
Does that happen in England, you think?
Bro, I tell you one thing for now, yeah. Some of my older cousins, yeah, the ones that converted to Islam from prisons, yeah, they were the ones that was coming out on the road, yeah, telling other young G's on the road, listen, convert to Islam. Are you Muslim, bro? If you're not Aki, they're rushing you, they're beating you up on the street.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Because that was kicking off in Croydon. We you know what the maddest thing is? I remember
that too.
There was a trend in Croydon for all of the gangs and crews that had to become Muslims and whatever. And one boy went into a Chinese restaurant. Yeah, he goes, yeah, can I get the special fried rice? Is the pork halal? I was looking at the shoot thinking, do you know what? That just says it all. You ain't got a clue about Islam, but you're calling yourself a Muslim. And that's what made me think, you know what, this is nonsense.
Yeah. That's what happened, man. And that was it. Everyone started converting through that way, and obviously through the prisons as well. People inside, it was making everyone convert. So And they know this. This is not no false. This is fact. This is what happened. Then you had brothers rapping, saying, yeah, stuff for Allah and all this stuff in the rap. Then everyone got excited, and then it was the trend. Do you know what I mean? The trend, and that's how it got on. Because I tell you one thing. This is what I remember. I remember when I was in school, bro. I barely heard an utter from any Muslims. The Asians, it was mainly the Asians, but I barely heard a peep. No one was really speaking about it. But I'm not even gonna lie. Until I started seeing some of the oldest, like the so-called gangsters, the black ones, yeah, jump on this whole Islam thing. Then I started to see an influx of everyone thinking that it was cool. So to me, it was kind of like the black elders and the gangsters were the one that made Islam cool, and what made everybody jump on it.
Do you know what I saw?
And just to finish, and now it seemed cool now because guess what was happening? The Asians and that was getting picked on at school who were Muslim. Now because they had the gangsters, the elders who were black, who people feared. Now that they became Muslims and they would see that your brothers, you was like, wow, okay, man's got a little bit of safety now. Do you see what I'm saying? Man's got the black gangsters that are on Islam now, so man's cool now. You see what I'm saying?
You know what?
That's how I see it.
You know when I saw it was this. You know, when I was younger, it was like 28s and a few of them crew there. But who left? Okay. I saw it. I started to change when remember Apache Indian? There was a trend back in the day when young guys like us used to go around and get patterns in our hair and little cuts on our eyebrows, red hair. And then Apache Indian came along, same sort of look, same sort of swagger, same sort of, you know what I mean? Started chatting some music and blah, blah, blah. Then all of a sudden, Asians become cool and they had that little black twang about them. Then you had Prince Nazim Ahmed come into box and da-da-da-da-da. Then all of a sudden, it kind of blew up. Prior to that, like you said, most Asians were very humble. They wouldn't even, I mean, you never see an Asian guy smoke a spliff or whatever.
I don't know how where you guys got your early impression of Islam, but where I lived, it came through the Ansarullah. That's where that shit all came through from the beginning for us. It all started there with Dwight, what's his name, Rabboni, and all them things there. That's how it came in into the black community. I remember it coming in. It wasn't Orthodox Islam. Orthodox Islam is something which we learned a lot later.
I'm talking about the young, that one. I don't know about that, but down in the South, I tell you that for sure. It was the oldest, and you know, it was the oldest that was in the streets, and the oldest that was in the prisons that was converting. You know, you had the PDC oldest, and all the other gang oldest that was converting, and people was just like, you know what? Yep, I'm gonna follow the trend because it was hard.
So what type of Islam were they converting to? What was it? What was the school of thought they were going through in the prisons at that time? You remember?
No one even knows. The school of thought, they were just saying they're Sunnis, bro. That was
it was Sunni. Oh, okay.
The big mans for me were Nation of Islam. You know, like what's his name? The comedian guy. I forget his name now. But yeah, the guy grew up in foster care, gang banging, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, and the guy joined the Nation of Islam, and that was Leo Muhammad. Yeah, that's it. Leo, and you know, and that was a big thing. Remember Public Enemy? You had Professor Griff and all them man that they were promoting that, and that was a black movement right there. You understand? So when that came over to England, I remember we used to go to a guy who used to sell cassette tapes out the boot of his car outside the library. You understand? That's how you used to get your music back in them days. So that was a different thing. You never really see no Asians kicking that still.
No, the Asians in my school kept themselves to themselves. They weren't messing around with black people. But yeah, Gabs, you're right, man. I remember that trend as well with the whole Muslim thing and the rappers, especially because I'm from Camberwell, so like, I live near Brixton, so you had all these different crews around there converted to Islam and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a trend. Yeah. Definitely remember that.
Trust me, that was the thing, and then that's how it picked off. That's why you get most of the young, the young Muslim brothers now. They started to become a bit more outspoken because they had a couple brothers behind them, innit? You know what I mean? And that's why when you come to the park, you see the same thing. Who is it the ones that you see doing most of the arguing? The black Muslims. The black Muslims are the ones that are doing the most arguing. They're standing up for man. They're standing up and they're arguing against us. They're arguing against everybody else.
Gabs, can I ask you? What's your age range, bruv? What are you betweens?
Oh, me, I'm 88. So
okay,
so I'm 88.
That's why you don't remember. I'm 73, bruv.
In knowledge, 88 in knowledge.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just talking about this new influx of these youngsters because it's mainly most of these youngsters that don't really know too much that they just followed. It became a sheep mentality thing, really, and that's just the real crux of it. That was the sheep mentality of it, and then now you just have youngsters going around doing whatever they want, and yeah, man, that's it, man.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about the prison as well.
Yep.
Prison. A lot of brothers, when they go into prison, they can't Muslim, aren't they?
Yeah, but to be fair, listen, last time I was in prison was maybe a couple of years ago. And you know what? I found that the weak ones were the ones that got targeted. If you held yourself with a little bit of decorum, intellect, and politeness in jail, the Muslim guys wouldn't mess with you at all. And I was there while they were doing Ramadan. Imagine. So it's a case when they see a guy who's rattling because he ain't had no drugs or whatever the business is, or the prime one was when a guy was there and he's getting a big stretch of prison time and his girlfriend's left him and the guy's vulnerable, and then you know what I'm saying, when I see people like what's his name, Zachariah, and I see that guy and I'm thinking, you know what, them guys are taking liberties with him because the man not well in his head. Everyone can see that. I mean, that's that. Well, I don't know about out on road, but in jail, that's how it was. They always kind of trouble the people that you never see them approaching a Polish guy and trying to convert him. You never saw that. There's only a Polish man in jail.
Trust me. That's a Polish man. The Polish. That's actually funny. It's true. But yeah, man. But boy, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to. I don't understand. I'm just still confused on why this whole, Sunday Speakers Corner, the whole thing. To me personally, it's just made me sick, man. The way the whole thing has just been blown out.
How comes everybody drop out? What happened?
It's the Illuminati, bro.
Ain't it? Where's everybody hail from? Give a rundown. Where everybody come from? Where you all sitting right now?
Party at the moment, so yeah.
I'm from the northeast.
Me, I'm from London, but I live in Sweden.
Oh my lord, is it as bad as they say out there? Just by any chance?
Nah, bruv, it's nice, but it's cold though. Right now it's -9, bruv. But it's nice though. The country, I never lived back in England again, never, bruv.
No, there's a thing floating around the internet saying that it's the rape capital of Europe. Allegedly.
Nah, it's not. It's not. But rape does go up in the summer. It goes up in the summer, and I'll tell you why. Because in the winter, all the girls them is wrap up, right? Come summer, the Swedish go fling off everything, and certain mans can't handle it. It's simple as that. So it happens every summer. Every summer.
How long have you lived there for?
18 years, bro.
And has that been a trend over those 18 years that you've lived there, or has that just kind of started in the last 5 or 6 years?
Every year without fail, bro.
Okay.
But it is actually increasing as the population gets bigger. And sorry to say this, I'm an immigrant to this nation, and the truth is, I'll be honest with you straight up, the immigrant man them is big on that shit for real.
Okay, so
I'm not getting on people, on a certain group of people now, but there's a certain group of people who come here who done never seen a woman's legs before.
No, yeah, and a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people don't understand that where they come from, they ain't never seen a woman dressed a certain way. You
for
understand?
real.
All right, but let me ask you this now: Do you see? Are you able to see an uprising far right activities in Sweden because of that?
It's increased. Yeah, we got our BNP. It's called Sverigedemokraterna. And they've only been a political party. I think it's 20 years. They got a third of the vote in the last election.
And how does that affect you as a black man?
It don't. Not yet.
Okay, I hear you use the word yet. So, as an immigrant to the country, are you not deemed as one of those type of people? You're not under that umbrella of being an immigrant, so therefore you must be a rapist.
No, we're talking about immigrants from a certain region of the planet.
Yes, no, I'm aware of that, but normally, with ignorant people, immigrant is an immigrant.
Black people have been in longer than Middle Easterners. Yeah,
I'm very aware of that. Yeah,
so they're not. They understand that we're not the same. They're not that stupid. But certain Middle East man has come, and the Christians too, bro. I'm not talking about just the Muslims, because this country's got equal amount of Middle Eastern Christians as it does Middle Eastern Muslims, and they're both rampant for that, both of them.
Really, that's very surprising.
And not only that, the Christian ones, they're very famous in this country for throwing their daughters off balconies. And I kid you not, fling their daughters off a balcony if she date a non-person from their country.
No way.
They call it
They're
honor
known for
killings,
that
right?
hard here.
Hold on. So let me back that up then. So you've got Christians, as in Christians.
They're called Assyrian. They're Assyrian. They're the people of Mesopotamia, who were the original people of Mesopotamia before the Arabs took over, and they speak the same language Jesus spoke. They speak Nazarene, the language. Okay.
So and when did they arrive? Recently, or have they
no?
Been
they've been here probably 20, 30 years now, and they're deep. I mean they're deep. A lot of them.
That's interesting. See, this is the kind of stuff that don't get reported on the news anywhere.
And trust me, if you look at them, most of them speak Arabic, and then they speak their own language. They look like Muslims. They eat like Muslims. They dance like Muslims. They're like Muslims in every single way until
Muslims
they tell you
dance?
they're Christian. Yeah, they dance in that big. They dance in that big circle thing. They all hold hands and they dance in a circle and kick their legs forwards and shit.
Oh yeah.
Go to their weddings. Go to their weddings, and you wouldn't know if it's a Muslim or a Christian, because they're the same. It's just the religion is different.
Hold on. This is why you guys need to support Titans TV. Yeah. Us, we'll be able to take a flight out to Sweden. We can report on what's going on over there. Come on, guys, man. Go and support Titans TV, man. Drop us your emails and give us some ideas. Give us your time. Give us your resources, yeah, so we can go out to these places to actually report on this, man. Come on. Let's keep the movement flowing. That's me. I'm finished. I'm going back to bed.
You know what? That's not a bad shout, man. A black perspective. There is no black reporters, like world reporters. We need that. We need Kalam out there, like Trevor McCallum. You know.
There's a couple of black people doing their active thing over here, for real. Not just in Sweden. I mean, in Norway and in Denmark. I mean, there's a few. I mean, we do all right over here still, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting.
But life, all in all, is much better than it ever was in London for me.
So when you say yet, okay, what do you think will need to happen, or what do you think will be the precipice that will ignite the whole thing against all immigrants, including yourself?
We got this thing called in English. Fuck it, it's called, what's it called? Single boys. What do you call it? Single kids arriving to the country. We call it ensamkommande in Swedish. In English, I don't know what it's called in English. Single kids from Afghanistan coming here, about 15 years old. This country let in about, no joke, about 1 million of them last year. 1 million 15-year-olds from Afghanistan. Right?
Were they 15 though?
We don't know how old they are because the government refuses to do tests to find out exactly how old they are. As long as they can get it. I swear to God, I've seen some of them. They got full beards, man. Full beards. They're like 10 years old. Okay, so I don't know, but they let in a lot of these people, and a lot of people believe that these children, a lot of them are going to be sleeper cells. I mean, sleeper terrorists. This is the belief, the common belief amongst the Swedish people. And not only that, we got a heavy influx of these street kids from Morocco. A lot of them have started to arrive recently. And I'm not going to lie to you, bro. They're all straight criminals. Every single one of them is a criminal. And like, I work as a security guard. I see them every single day. They're nothing but thugs.
Yeah, but yeah, I understand that. But that's an economic as opposed to a religious. No, but I think if you're a street kid from Brazil and you go to Sweden,
yeah, but you said
you're still going to be a criminal.
What's going to kick it off? These are the things which are kicking it off. As we talk slowly, these are what's kicking off. But I think the rape thing is really, really pissing people off because it's kind of hard. It's heavy, the rape thing,
right?
You know.
And so, what would you do in that situation? Because I'm assuming that if a far right government were to take hold of any country, one of the first things they will do is try and rid the whole country, sanitize it of all immigrants, whether they be black, Chinese, or whatever.
I'd be gone before that, bro. I'd go to where I came from before I came to Sweden. I'd go back to Holland, bro. That's what I would do. So I ain't going back to London like that for sure.
So the trend is, if once one country, it's a domino effect. Once one country does it, you know, it's the same with the Brexit. We see that as a trend.
Yeah, but if we play that game though, bro, I just go back to where my parents come from. I'm Caribbean. I go back to the Caribbean if the shit hit the fan like that. You know what I mean?
So you wouldn't stand and defend your country? You just
It's not my country, bro. I just live here.
No, I'm saying London or England.
That ain't my country neither, bro. It's never England's never been my country. I lived there for a long time, but it's never been my country.
Oh, so you weren't born here, no?
I was born in France, same shit, different name.
Okay.
I mean, so I would never fight for any of them. I wouldn't fight for not one of them.
Interesting.
However, I was in the British Army though. That's the thing. I was 10 years in the British Army, so yeah. So I would not fight for them now, knowing what I know now. You know what I mean?
What regiment was you in?
I was a para.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've got a family who were in paras. One para.
Yeah, I mean, fuck with that. Oh, sorry, no swearing on the thing, but I try not to remember those days because I didn't know any better than I believed the Kool-Aid back then.
You must have been the only black.
We forgive you, bruv. We forgive you. We forgive you.
You know, I was gonna ask. Is what's his name still there? The Muslim brother, the one that Rich Kid always beats up. What's his name? No. What's his name, Rich Kid? The Ute, man.
Jacob.
Jacob, he's still there.
He's gone.
He's gone, you know.
Oh, he's gone. Oh, okay. Is there any other Muslims on the channel? I was gonna ask something still. Yeah, because the thing is this: why? All right, so Sweden, as far as I know, Sweden hasn't engaged in any illicit foreign policies in Islamic countries. So
they just sell weapons to all of them. That's the thing. Here is big news about Sweden's. I think if I can remember correctly, it's the 4th or the 5th biggest arm dealer on the planet. Little Sweden.
Okay, so I didn't know that. So who's that? Heckler and Koch or?
Nah. They got a government weapons manufacturer, and also Ericsson, the company Ericsson.
Yes.
They're pretty big on military technology and all that shit as well.
Yeah, radar and that. Yeah.
All them things, their missile guidance systems and all that.
Okay, because I'm assuming why would because you were saying terror cells and stuff like that. What reason would they have to have a terror cell within a country like Sweden who doesn't engage in? Hello.
Sweden's had 2 terror attacks now. I mean, like proper terror. We had like a man drive up the street in a truck and run down enough man and thing, And then we had the bomber. We had the bomber who blew himself up by mistake before he got to blow up anybody else. So they've had their things.
I heard you were missing me, brother. What's up?
Who's that? Is that Jacob?
Yeah, what's up, buddy?
What you saying, brother? You okay?
Good, man.
Them guys, Rich Kid ain't eating you today, no?
Brother, tell the people, them 200 people watching, tell the people them to like the show. At least if they just like the show.
Yo, if you want me to shut up people inside the things, I know I chat too much, yeah? So just hit the like button and I'll shut up. I was gonna ask you, Jacob. Yeah, so if a country is not at war with an Islamic country, you're not allowed to fight them. Is that right? Because they're classed as innocents. Is that correct, Jacob?
Depends. So, for example, if they're oppressive to certain people in the country, so if they're such as how South Africa was an apartheid state, yes. You have to openly show your hatred towards it, as in you should do marches, you should boycott the country, for example, right?
Islamically, I'm talking from an Islamic perspective. Yeah,
Islamic point of view. Like, do you need me to quote hadiths and like?
No, not at all.
Scriptural,
just, I believe what you said because we've spoken enough time before. So, just tell me, go on.
So you have to like stop it. You have to basically disassociate with it, right? So I believe the Sunni have like Abara, and then the Shia version is Tabara, right? So you have to disassociate from it, and you have to show that it's wrong. You can't, you can't, if they're not like in war against you, you can't just like start killing innocent people. But innocent means that they're righteous in a sense.
Is that saying that again?
My fan, like, he's always there.
Oh, wow. No, is that Lorenzo?
Yeah.
He's trolling you, Jacob, man.
He's probably trolling you, man.
Yeah, it's fine though. But I got your answer the other day, but I'll tell you that later.
Cool. Okay. You know, as I said that to you, I remembered it wasn't you, it was Raza. that said he'd get back to me on that. Sorry, bro. I didn't mean to make you do some homework there, but you know.
It's
All right,
fine, man.
so let me ask you this. Just hypothetically speaking, yeah. Tommy Robinson goes to Hyde Park on Sunday. A load of fanatical supporters of him, EDL, all of them type of people turn up. We have some fanatical Wahhabist type Muslim people there, and the Muslims get attacked, but the Muslims don't retaliate. In fact, they play victim and they get beat up. Okay. This goes out on Al Jazeera, RT News, gets spread all over the world. Oh, look at these Muslims being oppressed, blah, 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 blah. What do you think the world, Muslim world's reaction to that will be? I know I can't ask you that. It's a tough question, but what's your, as a you're only Muslim on the panel, I believe. So I'm just asking you, what do you think?
That's why I decided to come on, because I want it to be a little bit balanced, but it's a bit hard, like, because I don't want to say too much, like, and I don't want to get too deep into like Quran and tafsir and that. So, but so you're asking basically if Muslims were basically going to get beaten up, right? What would the Muslim world's view be?
Yes, and how would they react?
It'd probably be propaganda, like for. Okay, are you talking Muslim world in general? Or are you talking like?
So this flashes around the world. Egypt, all the Muslim countries, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, Sudan, all of these countries get this thing, and you know how they propagandize it. They'll say, "Oh, look at Muslims being oppressed in Hyde Park, blah blah blah," without having the full knowledge and understanding. And the spearhead of it is this Tommy Robinson, blah blah blah. What do you think their reaction will be? Would it be a case of?
I don't even think it would be the Muslim countries themselves. I think it'd be like the young Muslims you have in Western countries who are vulnerable. They'll see it, right? And they'll think it's an attack on them. And because, their minds, aren't, like, no offense to them, but even though I'm young, like, my mind's a bit more stronger than them. But their minds, I don't understand what's wrong with them, but their minds aren't strong and that developed to know, like, their own identity. And they're very easy to influence. And because of that, and because they're, like, I don't want to blame parents, but it is parents as well, right? They're gonna get influenced, and then they're gonna go all like jihadi on it. Like they're gonna I need to defend them.
When you say influence, it's another / forward, radicalized. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I said, it all goes back to the literature. They get influenced by the literature.
No, not so much. In this instance,
bro. Hold on. If the literature says, you know, when I was asking Jacob the other day, what verses from the Quran did ISIS use to justify killing non-believers? Like, because it's so ambiguous, and one word can mean many things. One group can go, well, Allah wants us to do this. And another person go, Allah doesn't want you to do that. Why is it ambiguous? Because it's literature. Literature can be true or false.
Okay, again, right?
Oh, sorry. Let me just quickly jump in there. Okay. Rich Kid, just to add context, you know, that's literature, and I get that, but that can be interpreted. Literature can be interpreted. But when it's flashing before your eyes on the TV screen right now, live, and you're seeing your Muslim brothers getting attacked and all this propaganda rubbish, it serves to radicalize. So that was what I was trying to ask anyway. Go ahead, Jacob.
Right, okay. So again, I explained to you, that you have to take the literature as a whole. You can't just cherry pick like certain verses and not look at the rest of the verses, right? And also, right, you have to look at like what the scholars' interpretations are of certain verses, right? But the issue is, I know you're talking about like there are like extreme scholars, right? But they were refuted by scholars of the time. But the issue is politics again, right? Because the way the Wahhabi sect was formed and like it gained power and billions were like, if you even look into it, right, and look into how it was done in Saudi Arabia, you'll understand why it's such a big issue. And
yeah, but
your
you know what,
understanding of
Jacob?
Western
You know what,
there, go
Jacob?
on.
Don't mean to cut your wisdom, but it's the same thing, isn't it? Because when you're looking at Raza, say for instance, talking to a Muslim at Hyde Park, and they're saying, "Oh, such and such said it in his book," and he goes, "Oh, you know, we don't follow him," and he goes, "Oh, do you follow him?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, he said it in this book." It's a mess. It's a mess, is what it is. And what I don't understand is, how can a God give you literature that's so confusing?
I
I'm
mean,
sorry to Jacob. Just something that you said as well, yeah. Because I always keep hearing this. I keep hearing, you know, a lot of time at Speaker's Corner on here, people saying about these scholars. They keep saying the scholars, the scholars. I want to know who the heck these scholars are, because these scholars must be some super knowledgeable. Like, where did they get their training? Did they get their studying from Allah Himself? Because people are always saying, you know, the scholars. You have to go to the scholars. But I'm always waiting for them to tell me who's that scholar, because who are these so-called scholars? Because they're just like us. They're regular people that's reading the same scripture that you're reading, unless they've got some better version that is only kept secret that they must go and attend and learn. Because people keep saying, yeah, the scholars, the scholars, the scholars. I'm confused, because I'm sure during Prophet Muhammad's time, was he saying about the scholars? You need to learn from the scholars. Like Prophet Muhammad, he wasn't really a scholar. He was unlearned, supposedly.
I'd love to know who the scholars are as well, Gabs, because you know what? They've got a lot to answer for.
Can I make a contribution quickly?
Yeah, go on.
Right. So there's a hadith which says the Prophet Muhammad says that the best Muslims after me are the 3 generations after me.
That's
so
correct.
who does that mean? That means Umar, Uthman, and Abu Bakr. And so their traditions have influenced some of the most classical scholars like Al-Jalalain and As-Sayuti and people like that. So they get their interpretation through that.
That hadith must be fabrication. It must be.
Okay. Let me explain. Right. So there's different schools of thought. Right. So Shiites, right, such as me, would outright reject that based on logic and history and that. Right. But Sunnis, for example, certain wouldn't. Some would. Right. And what you're talking about in terms of scholars, right? So in the Quran, it does say, "Look for the people of knowledge." Yeah, but I understand you have to still use your brain. You can't just blindly follow scholars. You have to still use your brain, right? And yeah, okay, I get what you're saying, that scholars is very ambiguous, right? And I get exactly what you're trying to ask, like, but yeah, I get what you're trying to ask, but it's a really hard question to answer, and it's gonna take time.
Yeah.
I'm not the right guy to answer it either.
Look, you just basically answered my answered my point. You just said there's something that you disagree with, you know, with what another Muslim would say about that verse. So this is my point. You got different, like the brother said earlier, you got different sects of different the way different people see things in Islam. You know, you have the Shias, the Sunnis, you had the Salafis, you have who are the other ones? You have these different other sects of Islam who all have their own scholars. So I want to understand, yeah, who is the main scholar? Who is the main scholar that got the information right that they can all say? Because you got different. If you got different scholars and some scholars are agreeing on this and some say, nah, we don't agree with what they're saying, then which is the original scholar? Who's got the original source? Which is the main
Prophet Muhammad had the original interpretation.
Yeah.
So then, if we're not getting the words of Prophet Muhammad directly, all this other stuff from scholars, to me, it doesn't make no sense. Then you see what I'm saying? You just said Prophet Muhammad has the original. So if I'm not getting what Prophet Muhammad said directly, and now I'm getting diluted versions from scholars and this scholar and that scholar, I don't know.
What's that noise?
Oh, sorry, that's my son, you know.
Sorry, guys, man. I just was screaming there. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, he's getting excited. He's hearing the medicine. He's getting excited.
Okay. Go on, guys.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say. This gets a bit confusing with this whole scholar business. Because I don't know which one I'm going to be getting is the authentic. I might get it. Are the Shia scholars, are they 100%? Are the
Gabs, you answered it, Gabs. You answered the question. I think really and truly, he's just said that this sect has got this. We're trying to find out who's the main man. And he said you'd have to go back to Muhammad. Is that what he said?
What, he asked for the first person, yeah. So
Yeah.
the person
Who came to Muhammad?
The angel Gabriel. The angel Gabriel.
So therefore, because he couldn't have read or write, and we know that the people around that time couldn't read and write, he must have been the one scribing and writing. Correct? Is that correct?
I don't know what you're asking. I don't know what you're asking.
When the angel came to him and said to him, Ikra, was he writing down or was he reading a book?
I have no idea. I'm going to have to answer that question.
I don't really want to answer that question, but I know what you're asking. But okay, the Quran, right? I get what you're trying to ask. You're trying to basically ask who was writing down the Quran, yeah?
Was he or not?
No, it was companions writing it down. But
So
he used to explain how to write it.
when the angel came to him, did the angel already have the Quran and he was reading it to Muhammad, or did he tell Muhammad to take it down?
No, he recited it. It was an oral. It wasn't written. It was recited to the prophet, and then the prophet recited it to
Wasn't
his
it
companions.
revealed over like 20 years or something? It wasn't just in one instance. It was like a revelation over a 20-year period.
I don't know the exact amount of time, but yeah, it was over quite a few years.
Over 20 years. But over this 20 years period, was the angel just coming down and just say to him, today I'm going to teach you about Adam. Allah created Adam from black mud fashioned into shape. Did you understand that? And he goes, yeah, Allah created Adam fashioned into shape. By the time he gets down, he'll forget what he said. None of us have that kind of memory sitting on the panel.
Okay.
So he must have been writing it. So if we don't know if he was writing it from the very beginning, or if the angel was talking to him, why are we having this conversation?
I don't get what you're trying to ask, to be honest.
What you're trying to ask, Jacob, is this: the time. How long did it take to recite the Quran to the Prophet? And if the whole Quran was recited in one go to the Prophet, how could he remember all of it to pass on to other people?
Okay, so
I think that's the question he's asking.
Okay, right. Okay, so so the Quran, was written down by the companions also, and memorized by the companions also, as every single verse was coming out, and it was explained at the same time, right? So they'd memorize the verse.
Okay, hold on, wait. So the Prophet was in the cave when he got the revelation, yeah?
I thought he was by himself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What I was about to ask, was the companions with him in the cave, or do you get what I'm saying? As I understand it, and obviously I'm probably wrong, but as I understand it, he was in the cave, he got the revelation, he took it down, he spoke to his wife Adija first and was worried about it, and then eventually he started reciting these things to his companions. Eventually his companions scribed it into the Quran that we have today, allegedly.
Yeah.
Do we know the name of the scribe that wrote it on bones and
Yeah, so there's different companions. So you had Imam Ali, for example, he was one of them, and you have other companions as well. So they used to.
So they were literate. Do we know the name of the scribe that actually wrote it down the first time? And that's what I don't understand.
It wasn't
why
one companion writing it down? It wasn't just one companion writing it down.
But in your science of Hadith or the Quran or whatever, do Muslims know the names of each companion or whichever companion wrote it down initially? And then why was it destroyed? That's the bit I don't understand. I don't understand why Uthman would have destroyed the original Quran. That really, I just can't get past that part. Why would they destroy the original, evidence of the revelation?
There was an actual scribe for the Prophet himself, because I remember hearing the story of the Prophet. The Prophet said something, but the scribe changed it a little bit, and because he always asked him to read it back, and when he read it back, he said, "No, that's not exactly what I said. You need to write down exactly what I said." So there was an actual scribe. Yes.
Was Muhammad illiterate or not?
He was, yes.
Okay. So
no. Okay. There's two different versions on that illiterate meaning as well.
Hold on a minute.
There's two different versions of that.
Hold on a minute. What we were taught is that the Prophet is illiterate, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Even if you're illiterate, you can still understand me when I speak to you, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So to make the claim that he's illiterate, meaning that he couldn't read or write. So because he came into contact with this being, suddenly he became wise. This is the indication. So my point is, at that point in the cave, was he reciting what the angels were saying to him, or was he writing it down?
Reciting, I would believe.
He recite it and go back down to everyone else and said, write this down, and this is what he said. What language was they writing down what he said in?
No, it was an oral tradition.
So they didn't write down anything then?
Not at that time, no. Not at that
Okay,
time.
wait. Let me say something on this quickly. Hang on. Okay, there's two different versions of what ummi means, right? So one is that he couldn't read and write full stop, yeah? And then there's another one which means basically, right, that the prophet never was taught by anyone who was human, basically. So he never go to school or anything. He wasn't taught. The person who taught him was Allah. Do you understand?
How can Allah teach him?
Yeah, teach him, but not teach him to read and write. Teach him as in the wisdom that's within the Quran.
Why didn't Allah say "Kum fayakun," be and it is, and he could read directly? Boom.
Yeah, hold on. Let's deal with that first question. He said Allah taught him. So I want to know how Allah taught Muhammad.
Yeah. Hold on. Hey, Jacob, if you're getting stressed, bro, just say, man. Don't. We're not here to make you stress. You know that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to answer like everything because there's so many different like versions and different scholars to like I don't feel comfortable giving like.
Do you understand my point? This is why I brought up the point about this. You see now, you see what happens.
Yeah.
Now you're trying. Now I'm showing you my point. That's why I said about the scholars, and I left it because ever since then, now look what's happened. It's gone all the way back, full circle back to the scholars again. And now because there's so many scholars that's saying so much different things, you don't know whose one's got the right info. Which scholar?
Well, I can give you the Shiite narrative, yeah, but then I won't be giving justice to the Sunni narrative. Do you understand? I can give you the Shiite narrative, yeah, because I'm Shiite myself, so I understand.
But is the Shiite narrative the right narrative?
In my opinion, but then that's my opinion. I can't be like, yeah, God's given me like.
Sorry, bro, sorry to cut you, but this is just my point. You see, when you're dealing with it's just like when you're dealing with understanding maths, like 1 + 1 is 2. Yeah, if your teacher, if one teacher from one school tells you 1 + 1 is 2, you understand that, and then all the other teachers go around that other schools you go to that you might leave and go to another school. That teacher would say, yeah, 1 + 1 is 2. Another teacher would say, yeah, and you understand. No one can't really confuse you. So when you leave and you go about your journey in life, you remember that, yeah, all them teachers gave you the right information. 1 + 1 is 2. But now, when you start saying opinions and maybes and this scholar, well, this is my opinion because I follow this side and I don't really want to say it because they might disagree. Remember, you're talking about a book that supposedly is the most perfect thing on this world, on this planet.
That's correct.
To some people, this is the most perfect thing. This is even more perfect than 1 + 1 is 2. Do you see what I'm saying? So now, when we're dealing with something, a literature that supposedly is more perfect than 1 + 1 is 2, when now the people that are following this book are telling me scholars are having a difference of opinion on a perfect book that's more perfect than 1 + 1 is 2, that's when I get a bit confused thinking, what the heck is going on? Because 1 + 1 is 2. I'm sure all them scholars can agree that 1 + 1 is 2 and not have no argument. But if you're going to deal with the book that's come from God's mouth himself, which is supposed to be perfect than any maths, and you're telling me scholars have different opinions and I have maybe this is my opinion, I think this, and scholars debating on what this means and what, bro, from the moment you say there's a difference of opinion, nah, I can't deal with that. Because I don't see people asking for different opinions on 1 + 1 is 2. You see what I'm saying?
Indeed. Because they're playing Chinese Whisper. If you play you've all played Chinese Whispers, right? Why would it be any different with them? Allah tells the angel tells Muhammad tells whoever he tells. By the time they got to whoever he tells, it's not the same damn message Allah would have given.
But wouldn't Allah have known that?
But wouldn't Allah have known lots of things? Like, I mean, why would Allah have destroyed all mankind to start again? Wouldn't he have known that his first creation would have been bullshit and so he had to do it again? I mean, there's lots of things. If I die and Allah does exist, I got a lot of questions for that, brother.
And I suppose that people who read the Quran in English, there is no hope for them. Because every time you get further into their study, they said, you don't understand the Quran because you don't speak Arabic.
Which is right, though.
But God wanted to give me a message. So what God is saying to me now, you either have to learn Hebrew or Arabic to understand who I am.
Because those religions were given to those people. That's the point of why it's not a global religion, because it was given to those. Kalam's covered this a lot of times. Thank you. Actually.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have. It was given to specific people. That's why the problem I have is when people say, you know, it's given to the whole entire world. No. From what I see, I think that message was given to a particular people. The same way, you know, the Torah came down to the children of Israel, you know, and that was their script. I think that the Quran came down to specific people in the Middle East. That was for those. That was for Muhammad's era and his people.
I wouldn't say come down.
You see why Sikhs? You know Sikhs. Sikh people. I've only ever met a Sikh who's from the Punjab. I've never yet seen a black Sikh, a full-on black Sikh. Never, because whoever those gurus were, they came to a specific group of people.
Well, it's like I said to my man this the other day. I said to him, "What hope do the Chinese have if they don't speak Arabic? What about the people who's never really heard of the Quran? Does God judge them because they don't speak Arabic, or shouldn't God judge you because you're a good person?"
But he does. I think I've read somewhere, you know, if you haven't been given a message, then you're judged on blah, 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 blah. So there is allowance, there's a contingency plan for that.
But what message? What message?
I've read somewhere that you know, if you don't receive the Quran, or you don't receive the message of Muhammad, blah, 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 then you are judged on something, you know, something else.
Okay, well.
Which that's something I've read something about that.
So basically, if you don't have the dawah, then you're forgiven. No one gives you dawah.
Which makes no sense.
No. If you also see a distorted version of Islam, right? So for example, if you see the Wahhabi side, right? And because of that reason it deters you, that's also, so for example, the way the Chinese see it, just to give you a narrative, right? That's also covered.
What do you mean? Sorry, run that by me again.
So if you see a distorted version of Islam, so if I was to present to you Islam is like the god is like a Greek god of in mythology, where he's a god of war, and we need to kill everyone, we need to kill this, you need to attack this person, you need to have slaves, blah blah blah, right? If you see that type of distorted image of Islam, right, then you will also be judged based on.
But how is one to know which one's distorted and which one's not?
That was going to be my question about, because remember, we're getting this from scholars who have different opinions. So how are you going to know? Good question. See? These are the questions that start coming to my mind.
I don't get what you mean by the question. God judges if you saw what was distorted, because God knows what the actual truth is.
Yeah, but how can
when God judges you, He knows if you saw a distorted version or if you didn't. So I don't understand the question.
Hold on a minute.
The question is this: if you've got 5 people giving you the same dawah, and all 5 people have a different dawah, how do you know which one's distorted and which ones ain't distorted? Do you get what I'm saying?
Right.
And how can you be judging if you didn't know which one was? You don't know. Like, they're giving you how can you then be judging it? I didn't. This is what I got.
Okay, I get what you mean. Basically, you have to use your own brain. If it resonates with you, and if it makes sense, like, look for the truth, right?
Yeah, okay.
Within what is presented. Don't look at the personalities.
Come on.
Look at the truth that's presented in front of you.
Sorry, bro, to cut you. You see, when you said that, use your own brain. And you said use your own brain and what makes sense to you and what sounds true to you. Now, you see, and this is the thing, like the brother was saying, what the ISIS brothers probably would have said. Probably would have looked at it and said, you know what? This seems true. I'm using my brain. This seems true to me, and this makes sense. So I'm going to go around doing what Allah wants me to do. I'm reading from it. So what I'm trying to say is, if it goes down to now your own instance and what you think is true, remember, everybody else's truth is different, you know?
Right, I get what you're saying.
Someone else's truth. So what I'm trying to say is, where we have scholars who's got difference of opinion, where we have people where we have human beings where different human beings' truths are different from another human being's truth. Remember, this is still the perfect message from God. I'm still trying to find out why is it that this perfect message, people are not getting the same one understanding.
You know what, Gabs? If I could just counter that, moreover, I think if I'm getting a message or a dawah from a certain individual and I'm looking at this guy and he's saying kill the kuffar, this, that, and the other, blah blah blah, I would walk away from Islam in its entirety. I'd be like, you know what, I want nothing to do with that.
True.
You understand?
True. But then you got some people that might be like, yeah, I'm on it.
Okay, right. I get what you're saying, right? That if you presented Islam and that's what they see as their true interpretation, but if the book itself is like contradicting it, right? You have to understand these people who follow this doctrine, right? Like, I don't know, like what the hell they're reading. To be honest with you, like.
So are
like,
you saying that if we read a hadith and I looked on the hadith and I go, this doesn't feel right to my soul, let me consult the Quran, and then the Quran contradicts that hadith, then we should throw out that hadith.
Yeah, I've told you this many times.
Even when we go into the Quran,
how many times have I said that?
But even when we go into the Quran and read from the Quran, we're still told you don't understand when it's basically written in English. So how are we going to understand when everything is so ambiguous?
Well, where does it say in the Quran?
Like for instance,
you don't understand.
Like for instance, like when Gabs and Sarah were saying to Abnan about, did Allah create the first man from black mud and fashion him into shape? They find all kind of things to say apart from what they were asking. You see, if Allah's writing this book, then I don't need a man to interpret it, what Allah has been saying.
Yeah.
Because that's where the confusion comes in. You cannot say the Prophet came down from a mountain, spoke to several people who were writing down the same thing, and Allah didn't check him over that period of time to say, what he wrote is not what I told you. Because he's trying to give a message to the whole world. The whole world doesn't speak Arabic.
Okay.
So this message could only be for a particular people who was warring and controlling at the time and came out of barbarism into civilization. The first time you see people get civilized is when they start producing literature. Come on now, let's not play this game.
Me, even if I disagree, like I don't see if my opinion's like valid because that's my personal opinion. I'm sort of biased as well, so I don't feel like me sharing my opinion will do anything, to be honest.
Someone said earlier Islam is Arab imperialism, and they're correct actually. That's basically what it is. You have to. I heard it all the time when I used to go to the mosque. Oh, you have to understand it in Arabic. You have to read it in Arabic. Blah blah blah. You have to change your name. Blah 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 blah. And like he says, the religion is for a particular people who speak a particular language, as are all the Abrahamic religions. They're all for a particular group of people in a particular point in history. That's what they are.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Do you know what? Jacob, let's just try and turn it up a bit, like not turn it up, but like change the subject slightly if possible. Because I worry about you, man. I worry that you get stressed. But what I was gonna say is this: you know, you saying, what are they reading? These ISIS people, right? Someone told me a story about 2 years ago, and I wonder if you could tell me if there's any truth in this story. So, in fact, it was a Muslim lady that told me this, right? So, basically, in the Quran, it states that the end of the world, there'll be a great war before the end of the world and the Day of Judgment, basically. And this war will start in Syria, and ISIS will have a black flag, and they will wave a black flag in the so ISIS use a black flag, a few other bits and pieces. Is there any truth to that, do you think, to that story?
Okay, so the end of the world whole war thing, yeah, that's like a quite normal like doctrine because we all believe in like, well, okay, certain people, like certain scholars also disagree with the narrative that there will be a savior, and that's because it's like in the hadith and the Quran, right? So, but that's from like the mostly, I think it's mainly Maliki school, for example. But in terms of Shias, we believe that there will be a war, but I don't know exactly how long. Basically, there will be the Mehdi who will come, right? Which is
No,
our 12th Imam.
I'm talking about before that. First of all, try and address this. Is that story in the Quran?
The end of the war. I don't know, like the verses exactly.
Okay, you don't have to know
I know
the
that it's
verses,
definitely in the Hadith, right? But I don't know exactly where in the Quran it talks about the war.
And it does mention a black flag, and it does mention.
I don't know about those.
No, you don't.
There might be Hadiths, like for sure. I don't really know. I'm not that like.
Are you talking about the hadith of Jude and Maljud, and they will come from the east, and they will come in such numbers that they will start drinking at what is it? Is it the Red Sea? Is it? I think they say they first will drink at the Red Sea, and by the time they get to the back of the army, there would be no water left in the Red Sea. I think it's the Red Sea to talk about, and I think that's the hadith you're referring to about this mighty war that will take place in Syria. Blah blah blah.
If that's what is noted, then yeah, because the lady wasn't specific. We were just having a general conversation.
But I remember from the mosque, Jude and Maljud referred to. I think the Imam told me at the time it meant Chinese people because they would come from behind the wall. It also says in the same hadith. I don't remember it. I'm talking it's like 25 years ago. I'm just trying to bring it to my memory now after hearing this.
Yeah, okay. She didn't mention no Chinese, but she did specifically say Syria. And at the point she was saying that, there was no, the war in Syria had just started. So she was like, oh my God, it says this in the Quran, that the end of the world war will start over there. And even the thing about the black flag, that was quite interesting. But at the time, I didn't have the opportunity to fact check it, which is what I'm doing now. And moreover, I think if that is the case, I think it's perpetuating this whole thing about the end of the world. We'll all go to Jannah, blah 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 blah. Some people actually want this to happen. They actually can't wait for the end of the world so they can go to Jannah, allegedly.
The world will never end until the sun stops shining. So all of this political preaching, this has been going on for 2,000 years. The world is coming to an end. How much people have made prediction when the world's coming to an end?
Indeed, I'm not in just one faith, and I think all of the faiths have their own apocalyptic type story. Yo, who's got the vibrator on?
Right, Jay Nish.
Yeah, sorry, man. I'm driving with the air conditioning.
Nish, what's going on there, man?
You guys is turning me on, man. Talking about shit.
All the way to Australia, it's probably 10 o'clock in the morning then.
Oh.
Yo, peace, family. What you lot saying?
Yo. Oh, Kalam's there, yeah?
I'm right.
Peace.
Peace.
Oh, man. I'm trying to get this show closed down in the next couple minutes. What are you guys saying?
Yeah. Still there, man.
Quick question, Kalam. Is he there? You know when the angel supposedly came to Muhammad, and he said Iqra, was he writing or was he reading?
Reading.
So the Quran, he was actually reading the Quran.
Isn't that why they say the Quran is the whole debate about the Quran being what's called what do they refer to it as? Unmade or uncreated? Because apparently the Quran, has always existed, I guess, alongside with Allah. Is that correct?
That is, something that they've got within inside the Sunni school of thought, that the Quran is the uncreated word of God. But that's something else. But in terms of the hadiths tell you that the angel said Iqra, which can be interpreted as either read or recite. Because there are certain hadiths that point out to the fact that there was actually some type of material with writing on it. Most scholars are in agreement that it means basically read. There was something that was presented to Muhammad to read.
Okay.
And just for my Hebrew Israelites out there, one could even conclude it was actually the Torah that he was told to read.
Whoa,
Dun, dun,
Kalam.
dun.
But how does that make any sense?
Kalam, where is he? Is he gone?
If he couldn't read, why would he be presenting something to read? If Allah knows he can't read, why give a man a book or a piece of paper?
But I don't know. That's a deep statement Kalam just made there. He was given that. I've never heard that before. The Torah.
Yeah.
Whoa. Well, you learn something every day.
That might be another day for another discussion for another day.
Whoa.
Yeah, one of the greatest myths that's been told is that the prophet couldn't actually read or write. And that's based on them not actually understanding certain things. They utilize the word ummi as to mean illiterate, basically. But it doesn't, that's one of its meanings, but it doesn't mean that in this particular situation. So the Quran calls Muhammad basically an ummi prophet, a prophet that was sent to the unlettered, meaning those people that didn't have a book previously.
Yeah.
But if you look around, most of Muhammad's companions, even his nephew or cousin, whichever way you want to take it, had the ability to read. Abu Bakr, Uthman, Umar, Ali, all of them, they all had the ability to read. And he was actually a noble individual, a person that was, you know, his grandfather was literally the leader of the whole tribe. He was royalty, basically. So, you know, it behooves me as to why this person cannot read and write. I think it was based upon, you know, Christian apologetics that they were doing during the time that, you know, they came up with this story that he couldn't read or write. But if you go through and you read the Hadith literature, you can clearly see that he had the ability to read and write. You clearly see him writing things. You clearly see him reading things and so forth. So it's one of these little propagandas they put out just so you think like he couldn't have got it from any other source. He didn't have the ability to read and write. You have to ask yourself, like, what type of, and I don't mean to be offensive, okay, but I'm just being offensive to the idea. Like, this is somebody who's chosen by God. What type of retard are you trying to make the prophet out to be, that he couldn't even read and write?
If that's
he
the
was
truth,
given a
then
simple instruction to read.
logic would say that
given
there
a simple
should be
instruction.
a Quran written in his hand, no? Like, surely there would be a Quran that written by, you know, by his hand, by his personal hand.
Well, that's one of the things that, you know, we don't know. As far as we know, that Muhammad had various different scribes throughout the ages. I think there's even records of him having up to about 40 different scribes, or people that used to inscribe letters or inscribe the Quran for him. So he may have just been saying it out loud, you know, and then somebody else is scribing it down.
So that story, Kalam, when they said that he couldn't read or write, what was that to make out like, because he couldn't read and write and the angel came to him, he suddenly became intelligent?
Well, as far as I've read, it seems to be like Christians were getting at the Muslims, and their argument was he was illiterate, so he wasn't getting his sources from the Bible or the Torah or anything like that. He was just simply inspired.
Okay, I got
so
you.
That was their kind
If
of
they got so much controversy from the get-go with all of this, this is the very first thing we're talking about. The first thing in Islam, the message coming to him from Allah or from via the angel, via whoever the medium was. From the very first thing, you got all this controversy, and then as you go through, as you've done, Kalam, gone through this whole Islamic thing, it's just controversy after controversy after controversy. What kind of God is this? Seriously.
It's not even what kind of God it is. It's what kind of people that are writing these stories and putting it upon an individual. So, you know,
indeed.
Again, I don't have no problem with Islam. The problem is what people are saying in the name of Islam. The stories and the lies and the fabrications that they make up to make you know, Islam appear good, but it does more harm than good. You know, they write in little stories like Aisha was 9 years old when 6 years old when she married the Prophet, 9 years old when she consummated it. And now we look back on it and we're like, what type of nastiness is that? You think what I'm saying? They create these stories. They create stories like they create stories as to say, you know, Muhammad dreamed of Aisha and she was wrapped in silk, and the angel unrobed her. And then, you know, Muhammad from that moment onwards said that this will be my wife. Like, what type of, if you really think about it, how are you making your prophet, you
And
know, look,
it's absurd.
you know, you're seeing a 6-year-old girl wrapped in silk and somebody's unrobing her.
Don't
That
forget,
doesn't
Kalam.
sound right.
Kalam, don't forget the main bit, remember, it says, the Prophet Muhammad says, if this is from Allah, then she'll be my wife.
Yeah, then if,
this
what do you
must
mean?
have
Like,
made
is
sense
this
to
not an
them at the
angel?
time. This must have made sense. This must have been a normal thing in the psyche of the people at whichever time they were writing this, because you couldn't write that today. People say, "What kind of crazy person are you writing that type of shit today?" So at that time, it must have made at least half sense that this was a possible way of thinking for those people in that region at that time.
Well, I wouldn't just say that region at that time. I think the age of consent at that time was probably non-existent. Just to counter,
let's not say that, because the question that I proposed to Muslims at Speaker's Corner is, name another Sahaba, name somebody else from Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family's companions, that actually married a young girl. Name one. And up to this day, they said they're going to come back to me. I've been waiting for over 6 months and nobody has come back to me with another person that's married a 6-year-old or 9-year-old.
Do they state any of the ages?
The age of consent.
Do they state any of the ages of the companions' wedding marital situations? So their wives.
Nah.
Well, you wouldn't know them, would you?
Nah. Most of the women were women, basically, were actual women, as far as we know. There were no description of them being young girls or prepubescent girls. So you know, a lot of the times we have to really look back on the literature. Don't listen to what Muslims say. Never listen to what Muslims say. Rather, listen to what the text or the source material says.
Yeah. No, but I'm looking at it from the Catholic.
Because unfortunately, real quickly, unfortunately, a lot of the Muslims are giving Islam a bad name because they don't know their religion and they're making their prophet looks one way.
Yeah.
But when you read the text,
well, I'm just looking from
you get another perception.
The Catholic perspective. I know that allegedly Mary was 12 when she gave birth to Jesus. So that was.
And that's one of those.
Go on.
Well, that's not a widely accepted thing in Catholicism. It's another thing that was written in one of the texts. And again, it was to, do the same thing as to what the Muslims were trying to do, to show that, Mary was this virgin, pure woman. And then Joseph was a 99-year-old man. So therefore, he was incapable of having sex because he's gone past his sell-by date type of vibe. So trying to make Mary look so young and pure and a virgin, and making, Joseph look as though he's too old to even perform sex. So therefore, he could have not possibly had sex with Mary. Type of vibe. So that's what the purpose of it.
Well, what's interesting is I think none of the other prophets' wives were virgins anyway. Khadijah wasn't a virgin. None of them, apart from Aisha, allegedly.
Zeus used to do the same thing. Zeus used to come down from heaven and take a wife and lie with her, and she would have a baby by Zeus. So, like I said, it's neither here or there.
What I wanted to find out was, did the prophet have any children?
Yeah,
he had so many. He did or not?
You don't start off Kalam.
Exactly.
Just by mathematics alone, surely with 7 wives, he must have had at least one.
Exactly. Something doesn't sound right with the stories. If you have 9 wives or 11 wives or 13 wives, and none of them are producing children for you, sound right to me. Something doesn't sound right.
What does the Quran say? That he didn't have no children?
Well, no, it doesn't actually say that. It doesn't actually say that at all. There is reports of him having, for example, he had a child with an Egyptian woman, a Coptic woman. His child was called Ibrahim. But unfortunately, I think he died. He died before the age of 2. Then you have another story of him having, 2 daughters, I believe, with Khadija. 2 or 3 daughters, don't quote me. 2 or 3 daughters with Khadija. which it's still present today. Like we know about these individuals. And then he had supposedly either 1 or 3 children or male children with Khadija as well. But supposedly all these male children actually died. So it's a bit, what's going on here? This sounds a bit fishy. Did he really have all of these wives? Or these wives, where are all of the children's? Are they suppressing the children? Or did he not really have children? I don't know. Something just sounds very, very fishy with the story.
And so
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Would it be plausible to assume? Oh, go on, mate. Go on,
I was just going to say, like, with the age of Aisha, one of the best explanations to me that makes sense is they wanted to make her younger than Ali. And, you know, so it all comes down to inheritance, basically, like who has the rightful place to sort of lead Islam in the future, which would make sense to me as to why they'd suppress, his Muhammad's children himself, because it all comes down to, rightful heirs of the religion.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
of course.
Go, Kalam, go.
No, I would say, again, we're doing a lot of speculation here. There's nothing firm in to actually say, but it's funny that he had all of these wives, but the only real wife that you keep hearing about is Aisha. And the only real reason you hear about Aisha so much is because her father, Abu Bakr, was the first Khalif, the first successor. So, if you're in power, you're going to try your very best to, invent, create stories to put yourself in a position of high authority. You're going to make yourself as good as possible. So it's a lot of politics that's going on, a lot of, rewriting history, trying to make your side look good.
What I was going to say was,
I get that.
On an assumption, I would imagine if you was during a war in time, you wouldn't want no people to know that you've got children. So if anything, you'd say you haven't got any children, where in fact you probably have loads.
Don't forget, an angel used to come to him personally. So when an angel's coming to me personally, I fear no one.
What do you mean? Like on a concurrent basis, or just once or
twice?
Well,
if an angel appears to you, and this angel is Gabriel, do you know what that means to me? It means I've already made my seat's already in heaven. Allah, the God of this universe, sent this angel to me. Out of all of the people on earth, he came to me. There's nothing to be scared about. If I want to have like 25 kids, why would I not be blessed? If Kalam is saying something smells fishy, then something ain't right.
Well, clearly, but I'm just trying to make a hypothesis as to why there's no mention of any children. I think if his enemies were to find out that children, they could kidnap him, kill him, whatever. Do you know what I'm saying?
But that's why I said to you, he was moving with an angel.
The children weren't.
Well, whoever was, but come on now. I mean, haven't we read the Torah? When God was protecting the children of Israel, he wasn't just protecting Moses. He protected a whole army of them. The Egyptians couldn't get to them because he put a wall of fire between and split the sea. So he wasn't just protecting Moses. He was protecting all of them. That's what God do. Don't just protect Muhammad and say, you're going to have kids, so I can't protect your kids. That's not the God of the Torah. And I'm waiting for that show where Kalam says he was reading the Torah.
Fire. I want to get into trouble, don't you? I want to get into trouble. I do a special show on that. We need to jump into Muhammad and the cave situation.
Whoa.
Do that still. Whoa. We do need to.
Yeah, definitely. We will compare that to Plato's cave.
Yep. And we can even compare it to Moses and we'll get into that another time. We'll get into that.
Another time. Where's Gabs the venison man?
How many times did Muhammad see Gabriel? Like,
you're chipping out in this. I don't know if he's chipping out to me. Nish?
Yo, Gabs.
Let's go.
Yo, someone call me. Hello.
Yeah, Gabs.
Yo.
You're still around. Someone was talking to you a minute ago.
Oh yeah, who's that?
Not too sure who it was.
Yo, Gabs.
Yo. Hello. Is that Dame? What's happening?
I think he's having issues with his mic or his phone or something.
Oh. Unmute your mic, Dave, and say something.
Yo, what's good? What's good? What's good, Gabs?
Yeah, what's happening? What you saying?
What's going on, man? I like your videos still. I watch you all the time.
Oh man, safe, bro. That's cool, man.
Love
for that, man.
Where's your videos, Gabs? I didn't know you had videos, man.
Nah, he's probably talking about, you know, when I'm on the show with Kalam and we've done a few.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's probably talking about that.
You mean, bro? If you're going like you ain't got enough videos on Titans TV and COE and every other place.
He's being modest, Kalam.
He's
being modest.
Too modest. Way too modest, man.
Well, you know,
way too.
You know what, Callum? I think we need a jingle for your channel, really and truly. You need to get a jingle, man.
Do you know what? You're right. You know, you're actually right. I got some backing music as already.
I've got one for you, man. We need to do a Fela Kuti-esque type. You know what I mean? One of them ones.
Fela.
Yeah, that would be powerful. That would be mad powerful still. Tree, yeah, I'm trying to shut down the show. Do you lot have any last minute questions that you would like to ask anybody on the panel? If so, simply tag Titans TV. Okay, tag Titans TV and ask your question. Okay, I'm trying to get into my bed. All right, I'm trying to get into my bed. So please tag Titans TV and ask your question, and we'll get it in.
And hit the like button. Hit the like button before they duck, Kalam. Hit the like button before they duck.
That's right, man. Don't forget to hit the like button. God damn, family. We've had over 200 and something odd people tuned in, yeah. And we've got what, 79 likes, 80 likes right now. Come on, man. Just keep hitting up the like button, man. Let us know that you support what we're doing over here at Titans TV, man. Let's get it in, family. Let's get it in. Let's see. I don't even know. What you lot say, man? Last topic before we go to bed. What are we choosing? Actually, well, last topic whilst we're live on air, should I say? Whilst we're live on air, because we already know this is going to go until like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. That's the usual.
What's the topic? Anyone got a topic they want to throw out there?
And let me just shout out Joe Haslam, you know, my brother. You know, shouts out to you, salute to you for you know, dropping all the gems that you've been dropping. I respect that and I respect you, King. I wish we can have more people like you on here. Okay. Let's see. All right, that's even perfect. If nobody ain't saying nothing, that's even better.
Let's talk about Freemasonry.
Jeez.
Yo, Kalam, yo, this is Simba, man. This is Simba. Yeah,
Simba,
man.
yeah. Raising.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Raising, yeah.
Remember when we did the video on Masonry?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Kalam, can I ask you one question? Kalam.
Go ahead, King.
What is your end game with everything you do and what you present? What is the end game for you?
The end game.
What's your objective with all of this?
My objective is to get people to think critically. My objective again is for people to you know, familiarize themselves with other people, to open up their minds, become more liberal and tolerant in their approach, and just to be thinkers. I don't have any other aim for our audience here but for them to think critically, because as long as they can think critically, they'll end up to a truth that suits them or is best for them in their life.
Indeed.
Okay, I understand that because you support basically all religions, right? From what I see, you gotta like support most of the religions. My thing is this: if there is, I mean, one of the religions is going to be right and one's got to be wrong. So, if you support people who are following a wrong religion per se,
or all could be wrong.
Or that's well, I'm kind of close to that opinion, but yeah, but if you, because I find that you support all religion, and I've never heard anybody really support all religion. Usually people like I'm more, you know, I support this or that, but you kind of like to all of them, and I've never really come across somebody who does that. I don't understand what the motive would be to support all religions. I just don't understand that.
Okay.
Isn't there some truth in all religions?
Well, you know what? One of them's got to be right, man. So
what exactly? It's got to be right.
I don't know about support, but I respect all of them.
But all religions contain wisdom. Wisdom is not a, you know, every religion has wisdom in it, but wisdom doesn't mean it's spiritual.
So do you think that, like, only one religion, you know, will be entered into heaven, or do you think that, you know, sort of people from all religions will be able to enter heaven?
Who's that question to?
If there is a heaven.
Oh, anybody. If there is a heaven, I mean, that's. I don't think it's I don't think it has to be, you know, so final that one religion is right, you know, all the others are wrong.
Well, personally, I look at it like this: there is a God. There has to be a God. So, whichever religion. It's my shed muta. Shouldn't. Yeah. Yeah. So one of them is right. So go for it. You know what I mean?
Wait, why does there have to be a God though?
Why does there have to be a heaven?
Well, I didn't say there was a heaven, but there has to be a God, a creator.
Somebody said. I think the Australian guy said there has to be a heaven. I think he just said recently.
Possibly. I mean, there could be reincarnation. There could be a heaven. There could be anything. Purgatory could be anything. But I don't concern myself with the afterlife. I do here and now. Okay,
No.
so, but I do acknowledge the existence of a creator because
Every single animal is a creator.
Every single animal is great. Yeah, there's an element of God within us all, within everything.
Bird creates a nest. Bird is a god.
Well, if you look at we're gonna get too deep into that, but you know, if we get into physics and stuff like that, we can see
that could be the topic for tonight, if there is a God or not.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
And also, not even that. First and foremost, I want to understand people's concept of this heaven, because people saying whether there is a heaven. Well, we know there's heaven, because heaven, you know, only means sky. So it only goes into now what you perceive as what heaven is, because if we're going by the Christian narrative, you know, Jesus saw the kingdom of heaven as within you, and then also this other place of heaven where people think is a place that's glory. Jesus didn't really say it was heaven. He said, I'm going to prepare a place. So it's kind of what kind of heaven people want to take on, because the heaven that we know, especially in the Old Testament, that they talk about heaven, is literally the sky.
Gabs, what did Dr. Ben? Where did Dr. Ben say heaven was? You don't have to repeat it, but that's my heaven.
All right.
All right. On that note, let me close down the show. And that's down for the after party, okay? So if anybody join up, you know, hopefully you guys can jump in, okay? So you guys already know the link is down below in the description box. All you got to do is click it and you'll be part of the after show. The after show discussion. Imagine that. This is actually the after show discussion where you're going to be on the after show discussion. So yeah, family, I'm signing out right now. You can hear it in my voice. I am mad tired. Okay. So I'll see you guys on the other side. Peace and love.
Peace.